Ethan Hunt and the IMF team continue their search for the terrifying AI known as the Entity, which has infiltrated intelligence networks all over the globe, with the world's governments and a mysterious ghost from Ethan's past on their trail. Joined by new allies and armed with the means to shut the Entity down for good, Hunt is in a race against time to prevent the world as we know it from changing forever! This is the year 2025. This is the 8th installment of Mission Impossible. This is... here we go. The Final Reckoning.
Yeah! Let's go!
Well, suckers alike.
Suckers and losers, happy Memorial Day. We love you, but
Landon
we hate
is
you.
Speaking in all caps right now to you because this is normally the show called Earbuds, where we throw up our inverted butt cheeks and we toss some things around in there. Right?
That's right.
But if you're watching this, you might be confused about that because you want to hear about a movie. Well, guess what? The regular show is, I'll pause that so we can maybe get some sort of money from the episode or sponsorship. I need a new mattress. I know they're out there.
I need a new mattress.
They're shipping them in boxes to us. We usually talk about music. He brings an album. I bring an album. I say, I like that. I say, here, try this. And then we say, hey, where does that fit in the Venn diagram? AKA the inverted butt cheeky center. Now, this is iBuds. This is the bonus episodes of reviews of some big old movies that have come out.
Woo!
Now, we have an old show where we did this before, and people couldn't even get enough of it, enough that we quit doing the show.
That's right.
So now we're bringing it to you, fine fellow listeners. So if you love music, you'll love this. Sure. And if you just love this movie, you'll love this.
Yeah,
maybe.
this is hopefully we'll do some more iBuds, but this is sort of the inaugural bonus episode for the movie review. And what a fitting one to start with. We open at the close, don't we? Now, of course, we do hear rumblings from the other cast members. Is this really Tom's final reckoning? And everyone says, well, no, he'll probably do more. You can't stop this guy. And you hear Tom Cruise and he says,
movies popcorn.
McHugh and I, storytelling, McHugh. He says we're working on 8 movies right now. You're like, he says we have 8 movies that we're working on.
Yeah, you just did.
I think maybe old age is finally catching up to him. Like, no, Tom, you already made all 8.
Yeah, he's like, by 3016, I need to have 16 films made.
Well, anyway, this is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, one of our favorite action franchises, certainly.
Yes, I mean, it's certainly in the top. I mean, hell, how many are there?
Action franchises?
Yeah. Probably like
1, 2, 3, 4, 6.
Yeah. Okay. Fast and Furious, Bond.
Die Hard, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
There's like 6 of those, 5 or...
Jones.
Yeah, but...
Not like this.
No.
I don't know. This one's sort of in a class of its own.
It really is. It really is. And I think...
Yeah, I think it's my favorite too.
Yeah. What do we want to... the typical Earbuds episode, we table set, we say, how did we get into the album or the band? Maybe we should talk how we got into Mission Impossible.
Sure. For the people that don't know us, don't give a care, don't give a ballyhoo, check another episode that's coming out for that. Very quickly, I don't know.
Yeah.
I weirdly enough, I think I grew up with like the second one.
Yeah.
Which we all know is the bad one, quote unquote.
Quote unquote.
Still good. Because I just remember him, being hot.
Yeah.
So instantly, I'm confused. But he's climbing up the rock face with his long hair, and then I remember him speeding through the gold. Everything's gold, and then I remember the knife going to the eye.
Yeah.
And I'm like a little kid. I'm like, how they do that?
Yeah. And then the motorcycle ballet thing, and I mean, it's crazy. But it is good. I think that is the first one I saw as well.
And then I must have went back and watched the first one.
Yeah.
But it was still at the time when someone died in a movie, I was, you're just like, they're dead. That's a person that died.
Yeah.
Not like for real, but you're like, they had a family. As like a kid when you see Emilio go up and get like,
right.
I think it's more just thinking of like that could happen to a person. Do you want to record or what?
I'm just checking the levels, mate. I feel like I'm on an impossible mission. I
always had that in my head of like there's a guy trapped on top of an elevator,
right? And
he gets squeezed.
Well, and it was all according to plan, wasn't it?
Yes, because of course, Angelina Jolie's father who I didn't know as that was like the guy from the original series.
Yes, yeah. So that's kind of fun to think of, like, oh, they were kind of being postmodern, like having fun with the franchise before we were really doing that.
And I know that the guy didn't like that, the original actor.
No.
But I think that's, like you're saying, that wasn't happening. So at the time it was, I mean, still it's like, oh, they're bringing him back as like a gateway, right?
Yeah, like he's the leader now,
right?
Whatever.
So you've got like a little flashback to the show, but then to have him be the baddie,
kind of.
I mean,
crazy.
that's kind of the way. Tom is probably like, oh, I got an idea. And De Palma's like, tell me,
Yeah,
I think it went like that.
Probably.
Then we get 3. So by this point, I'm on board, and I don't know how good I have it. By the way, when 3 comes out, you know what I mean? One of those movies that you don't know that you're gonna look back 20 years later and still be going,
God damn, how the hell did they? Well, that's what I was talking to a coworker about this, because he knows I'm the mission guy at work. Just because like 2 years ago when Dead Reckoning came out, on a meeting, I was like, hey, is anyone checking that out? Because I was, pretty excited. I was like, I love those movies. And everyone was like, no.
Yeah, it's a really weird...
yeah.
I don't know why it's so... Not even contentious, but there is like a line of like, no. Where it's like, they're the biggest movies in the world.
But they're not. That's what... It's weird. Because like Lilo and Stitch is beat it at the box office. You said at the theater, they came out and said, actually... that movie Friendship is doing better at that specific theater than Mission. And you're just like, what is it Tom Cruise? Is that the thing that people are just turned off by him still so much that they're like, no, we stopped with him.
Yeah.
I think it is partially that, because even in my own home, I have the woman with whom I live looking at me with disdain anytime I'm like, please just watch one.
Yeah.
Please. I know he's weird. I know he maybe did some bad stuff to Nicole Kidman and Katie Holmes, and he doesn't see his kid and all that stuff. But he loves movies. That's it.
He's a simple guy.
He finally he tried being a family guy. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Hey, Lois, I don't think this is working out.
This reminds me of the time I was on top of that elevator and my coworker was trying to get me off. Hey, get him off.
Right. But is it that? Anyway,
Peter.
Mission Impossible 3 comes out. One of potentially the greatest opening of a movie ever, because it's just 2 great actors acting with each other.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
No. Tom's crying. Philip Seymour Hoffman is menacing, and you're just like,
it's so
what is
dark
happening?
Too. Yeah.
We start in media res, as only J.J. Abrams would do.
Now, this was a conversation. I had a coworker today, not this specifically, but J.J. Abrams. We talked for 45 minutes, or I was talked to for 45 minutes about Star Trek. About like every
J.J. version?
That was like like Next Generation. Then he said DS9, which I listened. I was like nodding my head for about 10 minutes until I put together it was Deep Space Nine.
Right.
Because he goes, well, then DS9 comes out. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
But then it gets to the movies and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Now everyone thinks they're action stuff because of Discovery, the new show. And I said, I think that's the movie's fault, the new movies.
Right.
But I said, but the first movie. And then we said, you know, JJ always sets it up well. You've got a promising Force Awakens. You've got a promising Star Trek in my book.
Yeah.
You've got this. If he's got the one thing,
yeah,
it's good.
Well, we should spend a little time on Mission 3 because it does tie into Mission 8 in a very cool way.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, I don't think JJ ever was setting this up to be
much
anything.
like Star Wars. He was also something was taken from him, by another director.
Sure, but it's kind of cool in that like sort of cosmic, karmic way.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tom and McHugh are like, oh no, actually, yeah, we're gonna pay that off too.
They go back to the first movie. They go back to the third. I mean, they pull a little from everything, but specific elements.
Yeah. Well, and because in Mission 3, of course, and we all know because we love these movies if you're watching this.
Movies, popcorn. And now he's eating popcorn weird.
Yeah. I eat 2 big buckets of
popcorn.
popcorn.
I'm like, if you're not even going to watch the movies, at least watch this. And he's...
Did you see the clip? He's going in like before the movie, and there's a guy in the front row who ate all of his popcorn. And Tom walks by him and goes, hey, you ate all your popcorn. Better go get more. And the camera pans to the kid, and he's just like embarrassed that Tom saw he ate all of his popcorn. But
oh my God.
In another thing online, I saw Tom was talking to the AMC employees before a thing. And they've got their big buckets of popcorn ready and stuff. And one of the people said, hey, I was one of these workers. Here's what Tom talked to us about. And they said a couple things, and he said that he eats 2 buckets of popcorn per movie. When he goes to a movie, he eats 2 big buckets. So I think everyone was clowning on this kid for having been embarrassed in front of Tom.
I think Tom was excited.
Yeah. Tom saw a guy after my own heart. You better go get more. Movie's about to start.
Yeah.
You already finished your popcorn.
Hey, we got a long night ahead of us, buddy.
So anyway, I love the guy.
Yeah, he can do no wrong. I mean, there's certain things maybe, but once some stuff comes out about him, I just want to say maybe. But there's a guy that interviewed him about his how he was throwing popcorn. Did you see that? He's like, "What are you doing?" he's like, "Tom, I've never seen anyone eat." Yeah, Tom's just like, "I'm eating that popcorn." That's his answer.
But by the way, that's how I eat popcorn. Just throw it in. Anyway,
yeah. So
Mission 3, the whole thing is the rabbit's foot, and I feel like at the time or surrounding this movie, there was like the J.J. Abrams. You know, people hate him because of whatever. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan, but I think he, like you said, he does set stuff up well. Like this movie is, as I was telling my coworker, maybe one of the most underrated action movies of all time.
I think so. I mean, it's one of my favorites of the series.
For sure. It's in the top 3 or 4.
I love the rabbit's foot. I love, the anti-god when it's like, well, here's what it actually is or whatever.
Yeah. That's what, this new one pays off so well, because even at the end of Mission 3, they're like, so what is the rabbit's foot? And the guy's like, I'll tell you someday, maybe, or something. You're just like, okay. So it really was like the ultimate MacGuffin. We have no idea what the plot was, like what the villain's plan was. It was all just about this guy saving his wife, really. And then which becomes this obsession with saving every single person that's ever lived. Like Ethan Hunt becomes a sociopath.
Yeah.
Where he can't let anyone die, which is awesome. But
did you see this one in theaters?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a chance we might have went together.
There is a good chance.
I feel like at this point, if you had seen the second one, and then you kind of...
I was a fan.
Yeah.
Our family was a fan.
Okay.
So I think we may have gone together, yeah.
I'm sure it's something maybe seen a couple times, but I remember when it came out, being old enough now to go see one, having like seen the second one a lot for some reason.
Yeah,
it was either on TV or like I'd rented it multiple times.
We rented it quite a bit. Yeah.
God.
and we were kind of always, our house was kind of like, I don't know about Tom Cruise.
Well, this was also when he went insane. Like it was so now I think older people, because to them it feels like 5 years ago where they're like, he's jumping on a couch.
Yeah. But
yelling at Oprah.
But these movies made us fall in love with Tom.
Yeah.
And now we love Tom. We love everything he does, even his personal life. So anyway, yes, 3 turns into 4, doesn't it?
I believe so.
Ghost Protocol, also, I think, an underrated classic.
Yeah. This for sure, I know we were like, by this point,
we went to that.
If you're friends with me, you're going to Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol with me. I had the poster on the wall. They gave out the posters.
Woo! And this is kind of the turning point where the first 3 are kind of like, he's doing the climbing on number 2, and he does the bridge.
He's doing the climbing.
He explodes on the bridge on 3 and gets like thrown into a car or whatever. And you're like, I mean, that's all cool action stuff. But this is sort of the turning point where he does the Burj Khalifa, and it becomes a sort of obsession for Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Where Ethan Hunt is become obsessed with saving everyone. Tom Cruise has become obsessed with putting together sequences of action and suspense and stunt work that no one could ever replicate.
Mm-hmm.
To give an audience and I heard Simon Pegg say, like, when Tom saw people react to the Burj Khalifa scene, he saw it click in Tom that this is what he wanted to do with the franchise going forward.
This is, I think this is maybe still the most fun.
Yeah.
You got Bird at the helm. Maybe also the most,
it's funny,
memorable. We had a conversation. We had an argument with someone who was saying, well, you and I did, who said they're all the same. And then we found out they hadn't seen any of them.
Yeah. I mean, that's just stupid.
But then as I was talking to my girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
Almost said something else.
Yeah.
But we're like, what the hell? I was like, have you seen Dead Reckoning Part 1? Part 1. And we were trying to remember what was maybe the last one she saw, because we're gonna go see the new one.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, well, I remember the Burj Khalifa, and I go, that's number 4. And she goes, well, and there's the Kremlin explodes.
Right.
And I was like, that's 4. And something else, and I was like, you really love number 4.
The hallway camera thing is funny and awesome.
So I think when that becomes and like they do all that stuff, it really is like, this is awesome.
It is, well, and it is like the sort of, I mean, they always had masks and gadgets and stuff, but this one did, like, the gadgets don't work because it's old stuff, because they're Ghost Protocol or whatever. They're disavowed. They're always disavowed. So they're always working outside of the government or whatever. But this one, the gloves don't work. So he's, blue is glue, red is dead, which, that's the other thing. This, according to Tom and Simon Pegg, is where McHugh comes on and secretly saves the movie. Which, I mean, this has Brad Bird written all over it.
I thought so,
But they said the Burj Khalifa scene specifically, they were like, we have no idea what to do. I think Tom was already trying to do the what they do now, which is
come up with the stunt.
Yeah.
Or he has an idea.
They do the stunt and then build the movie around it, and they don't really know what's going to happen. And Brad Bird is probably like, well, no. So he was probably not super, I don't know the circumstance really, but he said they were at the Burj setting up this stunt, and he was like, I don't know, it just wasn't going to work. So they call McHugh, and he comes in, and they're like, so we have these gloves.
Because had he done Jack Reacher with him at this point then?
I don't think so. I think
why do they know each other?
I think Valkyrie. I think he worked on Valkyrie. And I think something else. I can't remember. But they had worked on a couple other things.
This is McHugh.
So he called and he was like, I don't know. They have that sort of connection that they speak each other's
sandwiches.
Thank you. So they call McHugh. He comes and they're explaining, yeah, we got these gloves. He's got to climb up. We don't know why he has to climb up. And he's like, okay, so the gloves. And they're like, yeah, if the blue is sticky and red, it doesn't work. And McHugh comes up with blue is glue, red is dead.
Okay.
And they say, well, that's when it all came together. I was like, well, that doesn't actually
I mean, I could say that. I would never say that to him. if
But that's when they say it kind of, that's when McHugh took over the franchise. So.
Because he just got it.
He just got it.
And this is where they start playing with, you're seeing a lot of what's supposed to happen, thinking that's what's happening.
And then this one doesn't quite do that.
There's a little bit of like just setting up, here's how it's going to go in the hotel or in the tower.
Right. Yeah.
And then it goes wrong and you get to see Ethan sort of, it's always just him trying to figure out something because things are going wrong.
The gloves don't work.
You see it in his eyes.
Yeah. And he does. I think Tom Cruise is underrated.
Yeah, because when you see, it's like he believes this. Somehow I'm seeing that like he knows that my gloves aren't working or whatever, and I have to jump and I might die, but I know that I can do it.
Yeah.
Or I have to tell myself I know I can.
All with a look.
And then you watch the behind the scenes and he's just like out running on the building like, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah, it's crazy. But
so that's this one.
And yeah.
So then from here, we've got 4 different directors. Now it's McHugh all the way. Because then they do Jack Reacher. And he's like, that's the guy I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So then he pops him in. And then Rogue Nation.
They do Rogue, which is also great. I think
that's where we bring in Miss Ferguson.
Yes.
Hello.
We get Ilsa, the great stunt at the beginning where he's hanging onto the airplane.
Yes, which was another, here's something I want to do.
Yep.
And then they realize it doesn't actually fit anywhere and we can just open the movie with it, which I think is, to me, one of the better implementations of it because of how much now they like are showing all the stunts.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, okay, I've seen the clip of him going into the sky, so you might as well open the movie with that.
See, in my opinion, this movie it's still great, but it was kind of disappointing because all of the promo was about him doing that, and then to start it with that, and it never really ratchets up like that. That stunt, kind of like the Dead Reckoning jump, it's kind of like, well, that's the stunt.
Yeah,
it doesn't. Where when we get to Fallout and when we get to this movie, you see this promo stuff and you're like, oh, wow, he's hanging from a helicopter. He's hanging from a biplane. And then you watch the movie and that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
Where in Rogue, it's like, I mean, it's awesome that he did that. And it's so cool when the plane starts to take off and you're like, oh, yeah, it's just one unbroken shot of him holding on.
Yeah.
But it never, I mean, like I say, I like this movie. You can definitely tell McHugh and Tom are working out the sort of kinks of in my opinion, of the sort of build it as you go.
Yeah, and you start to see a little of like he wants to do mission 2. He wants to do more with motorcycles.
Yeah,
he wants to do more where it's like this is actually me. I'd say this is the one where I understand when people are like, so wait, which one is so Rogue Nation is like this is where they start to feel like this could be any of them.
Yeah. Because
I think there is so much focus on the stunt where I'm like, there is, but I also like I like spies.
Yeah.
So like the story being what it is.
Yeah.
And we get some more of the stunts, but because of 4, it's just like, what's he going to do next?
Yeah.
So you really get a lot of that.
And I think the promo material became that. For this one, I remember specifically where it was like
just behind the scenes, like interview, like weird Stuff that hasn't happened since like the early 2000s of I don't know, seeing trailers where it's just people talking on set, being like, this is the one, baby. They're just sitting in the director's chair.
But Rogue's got great motorcycle chase, great car chase, funny. It's got a lot of good stuff, and great villain, that little guy.
Yeah.
And the end where they're like, they capture him in
a
box.
Ethan.
And it's like, that's cool spy stuff. So they do keep the sort of spy element in this one that they kind of lose in these later ones that I am sad about.
Yeah, I think he's also, as much as I laughed in the theater the first time I heard Lane speak.
Right.
And he's like, Ethan.
Right.
And you're just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
He's like probably the best villain in the series. Is this the one where he goes underwater, or is that the next one?
That's Fallout.
Okay. See? Yeah, so that's good.
So we get to Fallout.
Yeah, so I gave this one a 9 on IMDb.
Damn.
I must have went home
out of 100.
A happy boy. Yeah. Then Fallout. So,
and by the way, I think Rogue Nation, we both drove to Iowa City and watched it, and then we both came back 45 minutes to Cedar Rapids because we both thought each other were in Iowa City that night, if I remember right. So we both...
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think we both went out of our way to like go meet the other one at the theater, and then we both drove home. Anyway, just one of those things you remember.
But they had posters too.
That's right. They had the free poster. Maybe that's why we went.
I don't know. I think it's because we're friends.
Yeah. So Fallout comes out. Now this, to me, I think is probably the best action movie ever made.
See, I haven't even rated this one. This one gets a 9.
Wow. Same as Rogue.
I got to go back and change Rogue though. Because I think when it came out, well, I don't even know. I love this one.
Yeah. To me,
oh man.
To me, this one, because it ties back in Michelle Monaghan from MI3 and the end of Ghost Protocol. She's in there. That's the other thing. Ghost Protocol has like that whole Jeremy Renner subplot that he's like feels responsible for her dying.
Right.
And, like,
yeah.
You forget like there's some good shit in there.
Yeah.
Anyway, this one I just rewatched it also, which is why I can. Otherwise, I wouldn't have remembered that.
Yeah. You have perfect recall. Total recall.
Fallout, it brings her back, but this I think raises the stakes with each new piece of information you get throughout the movie, and this is kind of when we start to see someone call out Ethan for like, hey, you can't always save everyone. He does, but we finally sort of start to question Ethan's character a little bit, or like probe why he does what he does and stuff, and not enough where it's boring, just enough to be like, yeah, I guess it is weird that like this guy is the guy that does it.
Yeah.
And like these people are always the ones to save the day, and like what toll does that take on them where they're like, no one, well, I guess that's, I don't know. Anyway, I think it's cool that way.
I think it is constantly saving then you kind of get them like all together.
Yeah.
Not in, I believe in the last, they're all sitting.
Yeah, it's Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the end where they're like, everyone's just happy. They have no idea that they were almost wiped off the face of the earth.
But I think you get more of as like you get into this,
Yeah.
like you're saying with why is it him?
Yeah.
Sort of why are we, like, what is he? Because I think, the thorough line is like he is the ultimate human.
Right.
At the end of the day, he's a perfect person who doesn't want anyone to die.
Yeah, yeah.
And he succeeds in that.
Yeah.
But it's like, but what if, wouldn't you question that a little or something?
Yeah.
Or his mental state or whatever?
Yeah. Which is, I think this one does a good job of kind of probing that, but also still just being awesome.
Yeah, because all the fight scenes in this one are crazy.
You get Cavill. He's John Lark, but Cavill's John Lark, but some spycraft that's cool, and like still kind of that harkens back to the earlier ones where you're like, so who's what now?
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's all revealed, you're like, that's clever. And then, yeah, you get your stunts. He does the halo jump. He does at the end, the helicopter
hanging from the big ball.
The big ball climbs up, pilots the helicopter it into another helicopter. They go into the ravine. He's hanging on the side of the cliff.
That's when they're doing this stuff.
Oh yeah, the jump.
Yeah.
He broke his damn leg.
I knew I broke my ankle, but I knew that right that moment, I knew that we were losing 6 months. Yeah. The calculation in his head to hobble off screen. When I would just I'd lose. That's probably the most painful.
Ow!
It snaps into his shin.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah.
So it's awesome, and they also know when they do the commentary on
the
bathroom fight, and they can't stop laughing. He's like he's giving it he's like he actually hit me, or just Ethan's losing. They also
just love it.
Think it's funny to have him losing sometimes, or being a dork or something. Yeah, it's he's not the strongest or the tallest guy.
Yeah,
so I think they play into that. But this one is we're gonna do this and this and this and this. So you start to go, well, how many other things are there a person can do?
Right.
You're jumping off stuff, you're climbing stuff.
That's
what else is there to do? You drive something fast.
Yeah, there's another great motorcycle chase in this one, I believe, around the Arc de Pomme Triomphe.
Yeah, where no one could believe that he would drive that fast.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's what... So...
And then they introduce the White Widow in this, I believe.
Is it this way? Yeah, I think it is. Which, I was going to look this up. I don't think I just rewatched 1, 3... I watched the first 4.
Oh.
I rewatched the first 4, kind of out of order, though.
That's weird.
And I think the White Widow is Max's daughter, which is the older lady that he Vanessa Redgrave is the actress, but which I forgot when this came out, and just every other time I'm like, okay, he knows her, he knows her mom or whatever, but I forgot that it's so she's, and that's why
what's his face knows her.
Yeah, in Dead Reckoning, he's like, last time I saw you, you were
you can't be her.
Knee high.
Yeah. Knee high, peg leg.
But anyway, yeah, White Widow.
Awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
So that's great stuff. And then this, I believe, right at the end, we get, or is it right before this? We see his wife again, sort of for the last
Yeah,
she is dating the guy from.
That guy. Yeah.
God, I'm trying to think of something. I'm trying to think of one movie. And you can say something here.
I don't know any. I know him. I just don't know. Can't think of any
It doesn't
movie.
have to even be about him.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. The whole final thing is they're gonna blow up the missionary World Health Organization camp that she's at.
The ultimate evil.
Yeah. And he finds that out basically when he gets there. He's like, oh my God, that's Julia or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they kind of...
Julia.
She's happy. He's happy that she's happy. She's happy that he's happy.
Mm-hmm.
And she helps Luther defuse a bomb. And it's kind of...
It's sweet.
It's sweet. Because she knows these people too.
Yeah, that's her family too.
In a way. But, so yeah, you have her and Luther defusing a bomb. Benji and Ilsa are also defusing a bomb, but fighting Lane, or whatever his name was.
Yeah. Solomon Lane.
Yeah. They're fighting him. And Tom is trying to get the little detonator switch from Cavill.
Yeah. who's flying the other plane.
And they're all happening at once, just like ultimate sort of stakes on stakes on stakes in the way that Mission does so well. But like this, to me, this movie is the sort of perfect synthesis of all of the movies plus the sort of magic that McHugh and Tom have together of the sort of build it as you go. Everything works. It's emotional. And that's what Tom always talks about. They ask him one question about like, were you scared on the wing of that plane? And he's like, I love story. I love storytelling. I've studied for decades how to tell a story perfectly. I want to tell a story. At a certain point, you're like, you don't have real feelings.
There is what did he said? He's like, I don't mind feeling afraid. And I was like, we could all learn something from. He's like, it's okay to be afraid.
Yeah.
But it's like what the story, you know, where you're like, every single person. All I ever want to do is make movie.
Yeah. Eat popcorn, make movie. He is a little bit in press stuff. He is a little. You can't talk to this guy.
Well, no, because you've got his Scientologist PR person with a knife to your neck.
Yeah. But I do. But
he doesn't mind being afraid.
No.
I think it gives him. He's like, this is what this is.
Yeah.
It's a spectacle. I'm living it so you can live it.
And as he told
the guy behind you at the final reckoning can go.
Yeah. As he told Pat McAfee, that guy on ESPN, for some reason he did an interview with him. I think they're just trying to gin up some more butts and seats.
Yeah.
So they're like, all right, Tom, go on ESPN, talk to that Pat McAfee guy. And he's like, yeah, of course. I know those guys.
Wind him up and let him go.
But they said we were supposed to only have him for 15 minutes. They talked to him for 45 minutes or something. So I watched it, and it is funny because he does do that, what I just described, where they're like, yeah, it was like a fun, really good movie. He's like, I just love storytelling. But he did say, like, yeah, I get scared, but you also have to remember, we've prepared for this. Not just years preparing these stunts. You know, I know that when that pilot turns one way, and I hit 0 G's in the middle of the two wings of the biplane, I know. I've done it. I've done it a bunch of times. That's my plane. I know what's going to happen. I've not just prepared for years for this stunt. I've prepared decades by telling stories and learning how to tell. And then he goes on that whole thing. But it is sort of you prepare.
Mm-hmm.
So you do feel fear, but also you're so prepared.
But it is dangerous.
Of
course. To feel, I'm prepared. Like, we're prepared. Well, you know, so is everyone else. That everything goes wrong in life.
Of course, anything could happen.
And I think he's okay.
Yeah,
leaving his family behind.
Yeah, he doesn't have one.
Perishing in the South African forests. You know,
of course,
fine.
Okay, so we get to Dead Reckoning. Anyway, so I say Fallout is probably my favorite.
Tick, tick, tick. And then you've got, at this point, I feel like they start to, it starts to feel like there's going to be an end point. Because these last ones have come out pretty consistently. Where it's like, holy crap. You can always count on one coming out for the last several years, half decade, whatever. So now we get Dead Reckoning Part 1, and there's sort of this feeling of, okay, there's a new one coming out, but it's probably going to be the last. Okay, so it's going to be part 1 of 2. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be 2 more coming out.
Right.
And probably no more. Right? It feels like.
Or
you could say, or there could be 10 of them. I don't know. Because it was like, yeah, this could be 7, 8, 9, 10, you know.
I think at the time, yeah, they were kind of like, well, this story we want to tell is just too big for one movie.
Right.
So I think they were kind of being like, I don't know. But it did feel like that. And you got to think Tom's getting older. You can't be doing this. Now he says, I will be doing action movies until I'm 110. They say, hey, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
You do. I'll show up.
Yeah, he's like, Buster Keaton was 130 when he died. And you're like, yeah. So it's Dead Reckoning Part 1 in 2023, which becomes Dead Reckoning. Eventually,
right?
It does the live, die, repeat. He changes it up a little, and the new one becomes the Final Reckoning.
Yep.
don't know one way or the other about that.
I think this is where you start to see. Now, keep in mind, of course, COVID, some writer strikes and stuff, and as Spielberg says, Tom saved the movie industry by what he did, and he yelled at those
by
people
yelling at those two guys.
But we all listened to Josh Horowitz's Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, where he asks McHugh about that, and McHugh says, "Hey, look, you didn't hear the 30 minutes before that when everyone was trying to be nice about it." He's like, "Hey, fair point." So you're like, yeah. I mean, and even at the time, people were like, "Yeah, it makes sense. He's trying to make a movie."
Usually, when those things come out, it's like the word, like a temper like, "Don't walk in front of me!"
Right.
And he's like, "Hey, I'm trying to keep everyone safe."
Yeah.
It's like he is the producer. I'm sure he's under a bunch of stress. He also is in a cult.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
But like Simon Pegg, who has to keep saying like, "Yeah, we're friends."
Yeah.
Like is just standing behind him.
He loves my daughter.
He still thinks she's 7. She's 30. We're still getting the cake.
McHugh also said, "How many people do you think were on set?" And the Josh guy is like, probably like 25, 30 people. And he's like, "There were 7 people there. You have no idea what happened." I mean, he wasn't mad at it, but he was just like annoyed that that ever came out, because
I gotta listen to this episode.
It's good.
Listen to this one. Is it a new one or?
Yeah, it just came out. McHugh, he's always good for a long podcast.
Well, is he doing a long Empire?
I pray to God he is,
because I saw that he was on.
Yeah,
and they're like, he was on for 45 minutes in it.
Yeah, but it's not what I want.
That can't be it, right?
No.
I gotta re-up I gotta send him €3 or whatever.
But okay, Dead Reckoning. I feel like this is where, all that aside, COVID, Scientology, etc. I feel like this is where you start to see their big ball of yarn that they like to play with start to get away from them a little bit.
They've been batting it around a little too.
Rogue
confidently.
Rogue is great. Fallout is like nearly perfect. And then now they're like getting a little too big for their britches. They're thinking, well, we don't even know where this stunt is going to go in the movie. We just know we want to do this stunt. And like, okay, all right. This story we want to tell is too big for one movie. Like, really? Because then you see the movie and you're like, well, that could have been not 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
It's not one of my favorites. I love it still because it is good.
I think it is one of the most flawed ones. And I think because of the fallout coming before it, where you're like, it does also start to feel like, where else can you take this? Where I feel like ending it becomes better than, and at the rate they're making them, where it's like if they are gonna keep hitting some of the same stuff. Yeah. I mean, now they say, well, what if the bad guy wasn't a bad guy? It's the end, something else. Okay. But then it gets into the superhero territory where the movies I like, the Spider-Man, the whatever, it's like, what's the thing affecting you in this area? And then they just start to become more and more about the entire world. Yeah. Where this is now going to take over, not only just like blow up some cities and cause some chaos, it's going to effectively wipe out the human race, where it's like Ethan's big, because it's like, how big can you get this? Yeah. Where it's like, I'd also just be happy seeing him take out another clever thing going on somewhere. Yeah. It doesn't have to be. Right.
Well, yeah, you go back to the first 4 or so. I guess 4 is about a guy that wants to do a nuclear bomb.
I mean, there's bombs everywhere. Luther's always shutting bombs down.
Yeah, but
he's never actually there, but talking by himself
in a different country.
Welcome to Paris. Everyone else is standing looking at him together.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is the one where I get the most, like, not even plot holes, but it's just like
it's a little too big. It's a
little too big. Now, I saw it when it was in theaters, and I had yet to rewatch it just because I saw it and I was like, but it is 3 hours long.
Yeah, it's a longie.
because by the end of it, I was like, okay. And I watched the special, like I did all the stuff, but then
I think we even did a podcast episode.
We did do a podcast with it when you can go back and listen. So I did rewatch it. We rewatched it to go into the new one the following day, and I said, "This is 3 hours. The new one's even longer." Just so you know. But I liked it more this time. I think I was away from the
expectation.
The expectation. I hadn't only seen him jumping off a cliff every day for 3 months leading up to the movie.
Yeah.
And then even that, I was kind of, it's still like, is that crazy? Because they really talk about it a lot in the movie. Like, you want me to what? And he's like, I want you to jump off the cliff in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
I'm just like, for everything he's done,
right?
Where he's like, if a piece of dust went into my eye on the side of that plane, my head would have exploded. I'm just like, well, I've seen guys base jump.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably the least spectacular of the jumps or of the stunts, and it was so much part of the promotional material.
That's when it got to be too much. When I think they felt that's what works, and I think it does.
Yeah.
But then you have the people that we also know that are like, oh, he's doing it,
Yeah, they're like, oh,
he's so full of himself,
Mr. Man thinks he's a stunt guy.
So I'm like,
well, he is.
Yeah. But then you go, well, maybe is there anything else he can do? I don't know. Because, so he jumped off a cliff now. Yeah. But then the stuff that is still a little more CG, like the train, that is fun to me just because it's like setting that up. Like, what if this was up and down instead of side to side?
Yeah.
What does this room look like? It's like a video game.
Yeah. Literally.
Jump over here because this piano is going to fall and take all this out.
Yeah.
And then what happens in the kitchen train when it's sinking,
Right. Yeah, I love that stuff. It felt like even in like Fallout, we already had the moment where Benji is like telling him, "Go, why aren't you going?" And he's like, "I'm about to jump out of a window." Because he's not in the 3D map or whatever.
Right.
He doesn't know he's in a big building. He's like, "Oops, sorry." But so we kind of already have moments like that of the comedy of like, he's about to do something crazy, so he needs to take a second. And it's like, but that, you've done crazier stuff than you have a parachute.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it. But the convenience of it is what made me mad.
So you Halo jump.
Yeah.
You jumped from space. You need a crazy helmet.
Yeah.
We made that up. We know, Q.
We know. But the convenience of it is what I don't like. Mm-hmm. That because all of these movies are so good about showing something going wrong, but then he figures out how to fix it.
We didn't even talk about the Wolf Blitzer thing. Yeah. The craziest.
That's right. Fallout has Wolf Blitzer.
Like, that's not even like a puzzle piece, but it is just like, they set something up so crazy to trap someone.
Yeah.
That he is wearing the wall, like it works for that, and then all the walls fall down, and you're just like, this is incredible. This is my favorite thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
This is what all movies should be.
Yeah.
It's like there's that they have those ideas where like this is gonna be so awesome for people. And it's like that's believable because it is so fun. And it's just like, they built a hospital room.
Yeah.
But then this one, like, I missed the train, so now I need to ride my bike up a mountain.
Yeah.
And can somehow. That's when I'm like, so where is the train's like going?
Well, and the thing is, he jumps. We see him, and it is cool. I remember like being like, "This is awesome" when he does it. And it's still like I rewatched it too to get ready for Final Reckoning. I'm like, "This is cool."
Yeah.
And then he's like, says something like while he's falling, and his cheeks are. He's like,
"So you have the movies."
But then we don't see him again for a while. Because Haley Atwell, who I do like, we introduced Grace in this movie. She's great. I like her a lot. But then he crashes into the window that he needs to save her, and it's like, but that's not mission.
That's something you could say to Tom, and I think he would understand. Like,
I think he would.
If you said that to him, he'd be like, "McHugh's out. You're in."
Yeah.
If you said that's not mission, because like you're saying, that is there's funny moments in these and stuff, but it's not at the expense of, okay, there's a big train.
Yeah.
And he happens to crash through right when she needs.
Right.
That's not how that happens.
No.
It's a purposeful. It might be by a hair.
Mm-hmm.
He just got there in time.
Yeah.
Even if it's just he sees something.
Yeah.
And he can get there. You know?
Yeah.
But like to crash through and all of a sudden he's just like, bah, and then it pulls him out, and then
it kind of pulls him out. But even that, I'm like, oh, like I remember watching it the first time. You're like, oh shit, his parachute's still out the window. He's gonna fly out of the train still.
Pulls it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been cool though. We're like, okay, the convenient thing, I'll suspend my disbelief enough for that. But then he still has to fight his way back up the train because he got pulled out.
Mm-hmm.
Like but whatever. Anyway, of course, they introduced the Gabriel and this sort of flashback.
This confused me when we saw it. The flashback.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like...
They also introduced the idea that like he was a thief and a bad guy, a rapscallion, and he got this choice.
Yeah.
The choice to become a good guy. Which...
One of those Madison, Wisconsin bad guys.
Yeah. Which is... I don't know if I mean, it's fine, but just seeing all the other movies again now, like rewatching, I'm like, so you're telling me this guy, the guy who's just leisurely climbing rock, like jumping and climbing rocks on vacation, was like some dirtbag that got this choice to be better?
Yeah.
And he took it. I don't know.
I don't want to know that because it doesn't really make sense.
No.
Especially like even in the first one.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so they all make the choice, fine. But he's just like some vagabond, some guy that's whatever he did.
Yeah.
Can't be it's not like he killed someone.
No, he's like an expert thief, but he did kill someone.
Mm-hmm.
They think.
Yeah.
Right?
They think.
Because Gabriel and this woman and him, that's like, according to these movies, they think he killed her because Gabriel did and got away.
I was so confused because I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, the way they do the flashback, it's like, oh, so this is supposed to be just new information.
Yeah,
but I'm thinking back on 6 movies of stuff, and I was like,
who is this guy?
Yeah, I'm like, so are they bringing a guy back? But I've never seen him.
Yeah, I get.
I was just like.
It's confusing.
Doing a little I was just like, is this even information that we know? Because I'm like, so what is this? Another woman died before his wife. Because I'm also like, with Ethan, he has his wife, who he has to let go. Mm-hmm. But then we were told like, oh, he was also maybe in love with this other woman. Yeah. So I'm like, well, fine. It's fine, but I also like that he's in the third one. Yeah. A guy's gonna kill his wife. Yeah. The one woman he loves. Right. But then we learn like actually this happened before too. Yeah. Or whatever. Yeah. Just like what the.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know. So they set that up. They set up They set up the entity, which is this all-knowing AI that is in the Sevastopol thing, but also it's everywhere.
Yes, the source code is in the Sevastopol.
Yes.
Which now lies at the bottom of the ocean.
Right.
But
it got out.
One thing we talked about in that in our episode on that was that it's a lot of exposition. Maybe which these movies they have to have exposition. Right. And they always do it and just getting the mission from someone, that is a way to give exposition that's like clever. Yeah. Because he's learning about it, so you are too. Yeah. It's not just like giving this. I felt like, all right, they're really heavy handed on like the entity is AI. Right. And it's like, I get that. Yeah. So, and I think we said, well, they said it needs 2 movies, so maybe they're really throwing all that in this one. So the next one is like the craziest thing you've ever seen. Yeah. So I was giving it that.
We'll see if that happened, but
it's also kind of still corny when it's like carry out, they're like, well, yeah, so an enemy that's everywhere and nowhere, and then the little like Willem Dafoe guy that because they couldn't get him, so they get his brother to come in and put the little mask on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
then like Kittredge comes, so we start to bring in Kittredge comes back, I guess.
Yeah. And of course, they they well, I guess McHugh talked about how they want. Well, he always talks about, I hate exposition. My goal is to get it done as fast as possible in as little steps as possible, which I think he does well in Rogue and in Fallout.
That's what I'm confused about, him saying that.
Yeah, because in these, it feels like they table set for an hour. And then they have to because his other thing is like, I want to remind the audience what the stakes are every like 15 minutes or whatever, which I think is a good, like, people are stupid.
Yeah, because he says people don't listen to the dialogue.
Yeah.
Which is true.
Yeah.
I think, and that's more, I think also him being like, I don't think my writing's good.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Where he's like, he's said something like about feeling like I'm not the, wanting to make sure people get the information they need because I'm not great at, or he just feels that way.
Sure.
Worried that they're not listening because he's like,
now I feel bad.
Yeah. Well, he didn't do it right in this one.
No. So they table set for an hour, then yeah, whatever. We thought, okay, part one, we'll get right to the good stuff. I think the entity as a villain is hard to wrap your head around, which is also part of where they'd need to like really spell it out.
It is, but because at some point it's just like, it's all around, it's in everything, whatever. It's this.
Yeah.
I mean, that also might be just a flaw in having that be the villain.
Yeah.
Like if you come up with this villain where you feel like you have to table set for an hour and then remind everyone every 15 minutes because you go, I don't think people are listening.
Right.
Which I think he also gets from like test screenings, right? Where they're people aren't listening to this. Like you just need to tell them what's going on.
Right.
And then they just want to watch the action or whatever.
Yeah.
But they just keep doing it. And then it becomes the like, one must live, one must die.
Yeah, the little...
Which is like... So now this like entity has this sort of, I don't know, this thing by which it like... It knows one must die, but it's one of these two women that you know. And
right. And
what's the riddle here?
And it basically kind of sets up this idea that like Ethan is the only one that can kill it.
Mm-hmm.
Like this sort of, which we get to, he's like, it's his destiny, basically, by some way of like, this is the one man that can stop this from happening. Literally. We know that from the movies because whatever, but like now it's like actually said.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one guy that can stop it.
Yeah.
One of your girlfriends has to die.
Yeah.
We don't really know why, but it has to happen. That's what I mean, where this is where you start to see the wheels kind of fall off the caboose, where you're like the storytelling by what you're feeling that day type thing. Or like the movie needs this scene, and you're like, well, maybe it doesn't.
Well, and we're also gaining more characters. As you know, it's the snowball is picking up more random people.
Yeah,
so
you've
got
Shay.
Briggs and Degas.
Yeah,
you've got Shay. You've got, and then it's always like, but it's about the team.
Right.
So you've got Luther there. So where it's like, but what are they doing sometimes? And it's like, yes, we need Luther there. We all love him. Mm-hmm. We need Benji there.
Of
They're
course.
kind of doing the same thing sometimes.
Yeah.
They're both looking at the same computer.
Tech guys, yeah. Luther can't walk anymore, so Benji has to go defuse the bomb this episode.
Yes, he has to go to the Toy Story 2 room.
Airport, yeah. Hey, but still some great scenes. I love that airport scene. Some great stuff, okay? Now, after an hour, have we table set enough?
But that leads us to, speaking of table setting and being long-winded, Mission Impossible... The Dead Reckoning, or what's it called? The Final Reckoning, which they say about 5 times in the movie. It's always
reckoning.
This is not the place to start with this movie, but when you have multiple different characters say, out of nowhere, a phrase I would never say, a phrase I've never heard uttered, but then all of a sudden some guy goes, "It's your final reckoning, Ethan," or someone else goes like, "It's the final reckoning."
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell?
Well, they kind of set up this, there's like rules for mission movies.
Well,
you have to say the title.
One of the rules also is you start with what's become sort of used throughout the industry, one of the stars of the movie thanking you for coming.
Yes.
Which
yes,
I believe was started by Tom Cruise because
yeah.
of the COVID stuff and everything. And like, we do this for you.
Thank you for coming to Top Gun.
So you get that with this.
Yes. You start with him clearly reading.
Yeah. Looking
like, hey, I love you, man, but you couldn't memorize this.
You're an
It's not that
actor.
long. It's your job.
Yeah. And it's the same thing you've been saying.
Yeah.
It's also weird when my theater wasn't that full. Where it's like this big, like,
yeah. Thank you.
It's all led up to this 30 years. And there's like a guy behind me going, lady next to me chewing her gum, the
eating
entire
popcorn
movie.
like Tom.
Yeah. Just all over my shoulder.
Okay. So the movie starts.
A lot of how do I say this? Exposition.
Yes.
We get, and a lot of this is our fault. I'll say that.
Okay.
As fans of the franchise, they constantly say, this is for you.
Yes.
So they are giving you, it's all led up to this. Do I need the entire series to lead up to this? Not really.
No.
Because that's not how life is.
Yeah, and I actually don't want that.
Yeah, I don't need to see, but it is like, that's what they, like, this is a thank you to everyone for the last 1996 to 2025,
Right. So we get a little YouTube clip show of the first 7 movies as Angela Bassett's president, whatever her name is, gives him the mission, right?
Yeah.
He puts in a tape on an old
little VHS tape. Yeah.
Daewoo
yeah.
TV.
Well, just like you would have watched the first Mission Impossible.
Whoa. And she tells about the entity. She catches us up on all that stuff. The entity is now everywhere. It's making people crazy. It's making fake news. And you're like, hey,
yeah,
I got the entity at home, sweetheart. And
how do you get the mission in the last one? Because they're always
cool.
Well, yeah.
Like usually it's like a pair of sunglasses that he has to throw and they blow up in the sky.
The last one is like the new guy comes in and gives it to him.
Yeah.
And he forgets his line.
Yeah.
Because we're always like, well, they have been like, whatever. Say the word. When they are thrown out of the IMF. What's the word?
Disavowed.
They're disavowed, but somehow they always get a mission. No matter how many times they go, we know. Okay, so Alec Baldwin died, so we will give you that.
Yeah.
You can come back, do this. Then she reaches out, but then I was asked, well, who gives him that? Like, isn't he disavowed from everyone? Yeah, and I go, we got a long movie ahead of us.
Yeah.
This was afterwards, and I was like, I don't know. But she gives it to him, and it also. She doesn't say it's going to self-destruct. It just does.
Right.
And you're left with a little, like, you've been edged at the top of the movie, right?
Yeah.
So it just fizzes out in there. And having just seen the movie, the part 1, I know all this.
Right.
But everyone else should also already know this.
Yeah.
And so I go, I know it's got to start, but holy shit.
I think...
I know it's AI. Now
I know,
we all know.
I know. But I think, well, for one, I think it is like even more like everyone already knows the threat of it now, even more so than a couple years ago. And I think McHugh said that in that podcast where he's like, people are way more ready to accept this as a villain now. Mm-hmm. And he said, we do test screenings. We listen to feedback from Dead Reckoning, and that was a turnoff. People didn't like the entity, basically. He said, so they did some of the stuff with Gabriel and the entity, and because I was talking to my dad after we watched it, because we felt the same about Dead Reckoning, where it was like the entity is kind of like, is that really, whatever. But we felt this one kind of did lay it out better as like, this is the villain. Here's kind of what it can do. I don't know if that's just because we've had time with the other movie and it doesn't ultimately matter that much because at the end of the day, they're kind of all this. I mean, I know we fought a guy about this, but it is the same thing where Ethan has to stop something bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the villain kind of doesn't matter. I don't know. Anyway, he also said they shot and recorded that Angela Bassett opening monologue like 2 months before the movie was released, because they were like, I think we just need something else to set the table. And I was like, I don't get that necessarily.
Yeah.
It's fine, but it's like, I think you guys maybe are overthinking it sometimes.
I think this movie is overthinking.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Which I hate to say as a guy that loved the movie.
Uh-huh.
But just starting with that, where we had just the night before watched it, and it was like, we're laughing at just like how much they're telling you like AI is like will lie and say stuff or whatever. And then it's like, I'm Benji, turn right.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, now we're really getting, I do like that it is like scarier though. Like it has ramped up the way it is in real life, where it's like, now some lady can send you an AI generated photo of a guy that's clearly a cartoon that's like, why public school's bad.
Yeah.
And it's them writing on a chalkboard like, they lie to you about God.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, this is what the entity is. You know?
Yeah.
But it's like, now there's people like fighting, where it is like, there is more, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
So there is that element of like, yeah, people do think stuff generated by AI or whatever, people are using.
It's already tricking people.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, yeah, the threat is real, more real now than it was then, probably. Well, not probably, it is.
That's why I feel like we don't need as, like, it just feels more, it's a part of life.
Yeah. I think, well, he also said if the movie didn't come out 2 years after the other one, we probably wouldn't have felt the need to do this opening. He just felt like, because I think they were supposed to come out like
the year after.
Yeah. So there was more time in between. So he was like, we had a little more time to.
But movies are not the way they were before.
I know.
Can I say that?
Yeah.
Am I allowed?
Sure.
It's not like I got to go buy a $30 VHS tape.
Right.
It hasn't been that way for decades. You can watch, it's on Amazon.
Yeah.
You can buy it for $4. If you're going to go watch this one, you probably have the means to purchase the last one.
Yeah. Well, he also said that tied into not spending as much time on Gabriel, where if they were kind of back to back, he would have shot. Well, I think they shot all of the flashback stuff to actually tell us what happened, but they decided we don't need to. You get the idea, which I think is the right call on that part. But you could also cut down some of the other exposition stuff, and we'll get into it here. But yeah, I think overall there it is just a little overthinking itself.
And I think because it feels like it has to hit everything so hard.
Yeah.
Like this is the final one, and this is where it really, if the last one didn't give it to you enough, it's like he is the, you know, when it's like someone's talking about him, is like he is unstoppable. He is the, you know, I think it was Shea Wiggum in the last one where it's like, he is a man of mystery. He has no name and he has only a last name. He has 2 first names. You know, he is this and that, and he cannot be stopped, and he will never start without being stopped.
Yeah.
Where you get that sort of just like, okay, we get it. He's like a cartoon of a perfect.
Yeah.
And now this one is like, and it's all up to this guy and whatever.
So then she's out. He needs to go. What does he need to do?
So we should have seen this movie first.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We don't have to go plot by
no,
plot,
no.
but
I'm just trying to think of, so let's just hit on, we find out that the entity is, this is not the first thing we get, but we find out that's what the rabbit's foot was. The anti-god.
Yes.
So that is tying back to the third one that
which I like.
We get this sort of setup for a few things to show what Ethan by being this way, by never wanting anyone to die, has he set up on accident that he's screwed everyone over. You know, when we get what's his face from the server room at the CIA,
Dunlow.
Dunlow. We get the anti-god was sort of this, I don't know, it's like the primordial source code that would become the entity,
right?
And by saving his wife and not destroying this, it's because of him that this has been. And so you get this, his like his worst nightmare. Yeah, he's put everyone in danger.
Yeah, which I like. That's cool.
I do like that we get there, because there always was like, what was it? It's everything and it's nothing. And I think J.J. Abrams' whole thing with his little mystery box, he was like, it's never going to be.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Yeah, and they said, we've got a little.
Which I like, as far as the sort of things that J.J. Abrams has set up in big franchises that people have taken or left. I like taking this one. Yeah. It's cool. Just because it doesn't really matter, but it is cool like, to just be like,
they were given a little, like, that's the best use of it. Yeah. That's the best thing it could have been, because it could be like, it's a dangerous virus. Right. Okay. Yeah. This is like, but it was a technological virus that is now spreading, mass disinformation or whatever.
Yeah. And we also find out that there's like a religious sect of like entity follower, like a cult like following.
We were I wanted more of that.
Me too.
I know my girlfriend, she was like, when there's like, they show some of those people that are like, are they on the side of that?
Right.
Do that more. It's just like a guy that might shoot the president.
I think, here's my thought. They needed to explain they needed to put in, one specific fight scene just to break up exposition on the submarine. Yeah. And they were like, well, why is a guy going to fight him in this room on the submarine? Well, what if I think they kind of backwards engineered this cult thing, but it kind of ties into like Ghost Protocol. The guy wanted to destroy an American city, kind of for like political, like, but like more spiritual reasons almost, of like,
it wasn't like a green, like an eco terrorist or thing. Is that the one? Yeah.
And then I can't really remember what Solomon Lane's whole deal is, but it is kind of like that, like where he's like, you think you can whatever. Yeah, I think there is this sort of like, we've kind of dealt with guys like this that are like, and the guy at the beginning of Fallout who is like, has a manifesto and Wolf Blitzer gets him. Isn't that kind of like, he has a manifesto. He wants the nukes to go off to prove his point about humanity being bad or whatever. It's like, there is already a through line of these movies of like guys with bigger socio-political ideology that's leading them towards wanting the downfall of humanity. So it's not out of the question that there would be a sort of cult-like following for the entity. It just didn't go anywhere. Except to, have a fight with Tom's shirt off on a treadmill and then have that other person come in and
bonk him with a fire extinguisher or whatever. So they can, well, it's because then they want Tom to take care of their suit, and he doesn't. Yeah. So you get a little like, oh, but it's funny because
we know he's not.
Yeah. He saved his life. And we do get there's like 2 clips they show of people saying like the entity is God, and they show the same clips twice. Like the same, when it's like there's 2 sides of people fighting each other, like news clips, and there's like 2 kind of cult members talking about the entity. They show it again later, which also happens when they're discussing stuff from the first movie again. Multiple times we see the Emilio Estevez going up in the elevator clip. Yeah, I'm like, if you're gonna show us clips from the movie in the first 5 seconds of the movie, show us any other clip, because it's like, yes, we know the wire, we know the elevator. you show us those two things multiple times as if I don't remember them,
right?
Or there's nothing else to show me. Show me something else first, and then show those later.
Right.
When you talk about his partners that died for the umpteenth time, and that this guy was in that, that was his room. Or whatever.
Yeah. They
keep showing the same flashbacks of stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand that, but that happens up front. Also, we get the news that Luther is probably dying.
Yes,
which harkens back to the first of the Dead Reckonings, where kind of to me with what's her face, we get, God, I can't remember anyone's name. It's so late. We've been talking for so long. Rebecca Ferguson's character, Ilsa Faust, in it. We think she dies for like half a second, sort of like a Chewbacca. Yeah. We think she died. Where you go, well, she didn't really.
Right.
But then later when she does die, you're like, well, why'd they, it's like kind of takes away when she actually does.
Yeah.
Act like she's not going to die, and it hits harder.
Stupid. Yeah.
So then we sort of get Luther like, okay, he's dying.
Right.
But then he gets blown up. I thought it was going to be like, oh man, he's going to die. Like, cause he's sick.
Right.
And we just found that out. But it's like, well, why did we need him to be sick?
Well, we need it because...
Other than he can't be in the same room with anyone when they film these.
I think it's because Ethan would not let him do that if he wasn't already like terminal.
That's a good point. Like, okay, what do I save him?
Yeah, he would not have...
He's doing the calculations in his head as he's shaking on the gate.
I don't think he would have accepted that if they didn't make him already die.
Mission.
That's not mission. That's not Ethan.
That's a good point.
I think. But I mean, it's still kind of stupid.
I mean, seeing him with his hat off, I gasped because I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
When they go into the room and he's got his little bald head out and you go, no hat. And then it goes out a little and you're like, blue shirt, can't lose. No hat, blue shirt, can't lose. But it is weird. All of a sudden he's like 2 months later or whatever. He's like, I'm sick.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. It should just, because it also takes a little bit away from Luther of like making the choice to say, this is the life we've chosen.
Right.
You need to go do this. I'm not dealing with the bullshit of you coming and saving me.
Yeah.
We chose this.
Yeah.
It's a little different when he's like, I got 2 weeks left anyway, or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, I fully agree that that's a better dramatic choice to make just for a movie. Like, Ethan, you have to make this decision to let me go. Because I think because he's sick, he puts the thing that can, the little antenna that can lead the entity into the little box. Right.
It also can record voice memos.
Yeah.
And so like it's a little task cam.
Yeah.
So it gives them a reason for him to record a message for later for the end of the movie. But it's like they really could have that moment together. Like, because they don't even say bye.
Right.
But later he's like, I love you, brother. You know, where it's like, I'm getting choked up at the beginning because I know he's not going to make it.
Right.
So then to go back to Luther again, it is sweet.
Of course.
But I'm like, well, I feel like they're doing that so there's a reason for him to say that later.
Probably.
I mean, like, there's also a reason that he would just record that as like, if we don't make it out of this or whatever. Again,
it's this...
Don't look at me.
It's this sort of you're seeing the warts and all of the like building the movie as you go. Where like, okay, we want this part at the end, and now we need to tack on this thing in the beginning because that will set up that he has the recording device at the end, and you know, like all this stuff where you're like, you guys should have just thought about this beforehand. I think so. I think that's part of it.
Rewatching the last one, and not to keep going back to the last one, it is really funny to me when he goes to get the car, when they remind you like, oh, they are everywhere. And then the little Fiat like pulls out. I like laughed.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's just such a funny way. And then he can't work it. And he knows he's like embarrassed that he can't. That's all. All of a sudden I'm like, why is this funny all of a sudden? Where it's like, it's fine that it is.
Yeah, yeah.
I love all that stuff, but
Yeah.
it does feel like, and then we'll put this where they're building it out like this would be funny, but it's also between like this thing's taking over the world and, you know, this person's dying or whatever. Like, they just kind of bop, bop, bop. So this sort of feels that where it's like, well, this we'll have him dying and we know that we need to go to, I thought it was going to open sort of with them in the Arctic. Because the way they set it up is like, we're going to the Sevastopol.
Yeah.
Sort of like a Fast and Furious. We're ending, like we are going to get to the ice.
Yeah. We know the next thing we need to do.
But that is not what happens.
No. And in fact, you don't get that until 2 hours into the movie.
Yeah.
Which is where you think it should start.
Right.
Crazy. But so we get that. He has to save Grace from Gabriel at a party. Like, there's a lot that kind of happens right away where you're like, is this like, this is the movie already? Where like, he's at a party. He finds Grace, who's there. They do a little
That was
fight.
another thing. We're like, why? What's this party?
Yeah. And then one of those entity parties?
Well, no, because there's no blue everywhere.
Yeah.
Also, riddle me this right before that, when I believe it's after he gets the message from the president, before he goes to the party, he walks out into sort of like the chaos of the world where it's like the Watchmen, like who watches the entity.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why is he's supposed to be no one.
Right.
He's invisible.
Well,
so why is he getting this little police detail through like,
he's
like,
I don't think he's getting a
but
police
they're all
detail.
like, it's not for him. They're not,
Okay.
protesting him, but
Right.
he is walking in front of the line of all the protesters and like,
well, you guys still got to go get a cup of coffee.
but why is he in the, like, he's with all the police and whatever. And like,
I don't know where he comes out of.
do they think like, are they like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
You know? Weird.
Yeah.
Then they go to the party.
Yeah. We might be missing some step, but I don't remember, and it doesn't really matter. He finds Grace. They have her. He gets caught too, and they're like, "We're gonna kill her," and he's like, "No, you're not. You need me. For the entity needs me."
Mm-hmm.
And he brings out his cyanide capsule tooth, and he says, "I'm gonna do it, damn you."
This is also where we get what's his face? Oh my God, Gabriel.
Yeah,
is he? I don't really understand him as a villain. Where we've had better ones, and it's pretty damn convenient that the entity erased everything, because it's like, well, you don't know who he is because he's invisible. His past has been. We keep hearing this, right?
Yeah.
They've erased everything, so we don't know who he is. But he's the most, like, even more than Lane, sort of telling him as like the evil villain character.
Yeah,
where it's just like almost for evil's sake why he's doing this, because they're gonna like torture Ethan, and he walks in, he's like, you can't hurt him that way. You can only hurt those with whom he cares for, and that will hurt him.
Right.
So it's like, okay, so they're gonna keep him alive to watch her, because nothing we do to him will work, which is like probably true. They could torture him, he won't give any information or whatever.
Right.
What information he has for them, that they need to torture her for, but he sort of just walks around saying, this is why I'm doing it. And it's like, if the entity's going to blow up the entire world,
well,
what do you...
From my understanding, he worked for the entity.
Right. And we don't really know how or why. We know there's a past with Ethan, and somehow he has now become
the entity's #1 fan.
Yeah.
But there was a falling out.
Fallout.
Yeah. With the entity, because he thought he had the key.
I like that.
But he had the lighter from the last one. So he's now kind of working against the entity too. So I think Gabriel wants to control the entity too. He's in too deep. He knows that he can find a way to control it, but he needs Ethan to go get the source code and do all the stuff, and then at the last second be like, and now it's mine. So that's his plan.
Because he's been forsaken by the entity, and he wants either to get back in its good graces or control it.
Which that's the other big thing. Like, the American government wants to control the entity. There's one person in the world. It's so funny. That's just like,
I won't do that.
Yeah.
Everyone is so tempted.
Yeah.
Right? They want the ring.
Yeah.
And
there's only one guy who's like, no one should control this. And even Grace is like, well, maybe one person.
Yeah.
Superman. You, Ethan Hunt.
And I thought she was like gonna.
It kind of seemed like it.
They didn't really. The stuff that I'm like, oh, you've got 3 hours to explore some stuff.
Yeah.
They don't.
No.
Because you're like, wow, something's going on with her.
Yeah, she
wants
thinks,
it.
Yeah.
And she wants it, of course, in the little sack.
So he, cyanide capsule, whatever. He beats these guys in a brutal soundscape. We don't watch him do it. We watch Grace reacting to him doing it, which is funny, and it's a thing that we did in a movie a long time ago. But other movies have done it too.
He probably watched that. He watches
like,
so much stuff.
I just love movies and popcorn. But that was my first thing where I was like, uh-oh. I was like, I mean, I get it's played for humor, but it sounds so brutal, like these guys screaming, and you saw all the torture devices and I was like, would Ethan do that? It felt a little malicious.
Right, when he's got like one guy's under the, when they finally show it, and it's like there's a hatchet in the guy's back.
Yeah,
and
like
he's on top of the other guy.
And she's like she's reacting like, holy shit.
And he's got the fake cyanide foam, so he's like looks feral and he's all sweaty. And then he's even has to sort of tell her, he's like, they were gonna hurt you.
Yeah, he's
where
like,
you're like, he's acting weird.
Yeah, that's what it just.
Which I think to them they thought it was funny.
Yeah,
but because like Tom Cruise is a psycho.
Yeah,
where it's like he all of a sudden goes by and he's so like, they were gonna hurt you.
Yeah,
don't you see why I did what I?
Yeah,
I would never. But it's like, yeah, but you also would, like, you do kill people.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, he does, but it's never like brutal like
right.
That. It's usually just like, I have to do this,
or just like knocks them out enough to leave.
Yeah, I don't know. That where I was like, do they not even know who Ethan is anymore?
That's why I think at least enough to like, we're not going to show it.
Yeah.
But he did something crazy.
But why?
And it's like,
also just show the fight.
Yeah. And just have it be not what like, you don't have to show him taking a hatchet to a guy's neck.
Yeah, just have him fight in a cool way like he always does.
Because he's not.
Is he too old? He doesn't really do hand-to-hand stuff anymore.
Yeah, that's true. He does the little close quarters one on the treadmill.
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, he does a lot with his clothes off in this movie. So he's in shape.
He is in shape.
He's showing you.
Yeah. But maybe it's just a little
I think it was like too brutal, and it's funny if you just see her, but he's doing it for someone that he does love, and he would go to the ends of the earth for anyone.
Of course.
But they're not in a relationship or something. It's not like they were going to take out my wife again.
Right.
And so I just lost it.
Right.
Because it's also, like you said, just kind of played for like laughs. It's a sound gag.
Yeah. But it's just so brutal. You're like, Jesus.
I know when they showed it, I went, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like there's knives sticking out of people.
And there is this thing with these later, like post Ghost Protocol, where he kind of has a flirtation with Paula Patton, who never comes back, even though I liked her. But where he becomes kind of flirty with like Ilsa and Grace, where you're like, are they like, does he want to be with them, or they're just friends, or like they kind of try to have it both ways, where they're like, well, Ethan, I don't know what the deal is with that, because like he loves them, but he loves Benji too, but he, I don't know, like they don't make, the entity doesn't make him choose between Luther and Benji, which I think would be a stronger choice than like two people he just met, basically.
Right. And when we get Ethan dealing with, or we get Benji dealing with the bomb, the cipher bomb.
Yeah.
He's just dealing with it alone.
Yeah.
And then when they try to, he's like, what's going on? He's like, oh, nothing, mate.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever they're in some sort of danger, he's not made privy to it in a way that when the women are, he can sort of save them.
Yeah.
I mean, also it's like he did the fight and where he's got his hands around the pole and he has to like work his way up the pole and get off.
Yeah,
and
it's awesome.
So maybe there's an aspect of if there's nothing different we're going to show here, and we have to get to some other stuff.
Yeah, I just mean generally like,
but that's like that felt like we're getting into it. That and then like all the credits, we were like, these are crazy fast.
Yeah,
can't even read this.
Yeah.
But then there's so much exposition,
right?
Where I was like, why are we rushing through this stuff?
Yeah, I don't know.
And then really going back to like, je peux one must live, je peux one must die. And I was like, I know for whatever reason.
Okay, so the bomb. Oh, then Ethan finds Ethan and Palm.
Yeah,
Paris, who used to be an entity or a friend of Gabriel, is now a part of the team.
You will betray us because Ethan saved your life. No. Did she speak English in the last one?
Yeah, a little bit.
But like in this one, she can't.
Not so much.
She never speaks English.
I don't think she spoke that much English.
But it's just like now she can't.
Yeah.
I think Benji would like her to. You know what I mean?
Hey.
Oui.
I like her. I think she's cool. Oh yeah, they break her out of prison.
Yeah.
And that's the only mask gag in this movie, I think. Like the security guards.
Yeah.
And then they break. Because it's Shay and Degas.
Yeah, they've got a.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
Degas now kind of.
Yeah, and then he joins.
That puts them on their side, right? Because he's like, what if he's right?
Yeah.
He's always been right.
Yeah. So then Degas joins
Degas
up.
like, yeah, because Shay's like, don't be dumbass. He's walking around like Ace Ventura.
Okay, so
what? Just because the guy's always right, that means he's gonna be right. They got it.
So Paris is with them too. They find the entities. She's like, that's where he went to talk to it. So Ethan has to get into a hyperbaric chamber with a mask that downloads the entity into his head or something.
Yeah, it's like Hellraiser.
Sure.
It's giving him like all sensation at once or whatever.
So that's actually before. Yeah, that's at the party. That's before he gets to Luther. So he sees
downstairs or whatever.
Yeah, he sees Luther is about to die from the entity, and he sees the possible future of all the nukes going off and whatever. He finds out he has to go to the safe house and wherever.
Why does it show him that if that's what gives him the knowledge eventually that will like stop the entity? Why does the entity care about it if it's a pure logic and reasoning thing? Why does it need to show him like, look what I've cooked up? Why is the entity sort of being evil?
I think it needs a physical thing
because it knows everything from his mind, right? At that moment, it's like reading his mind for maybe it's trying to find out where the key is or something. There's some information he has that like it can somehow get that out of him. I don't know how.
Yeah, and I think it needs him to go to that big server room in the it needs
in South Africa.
Yeah, it needs him to open the world up to the AI finally, like the one last sort of whatever. I don't know why, but it does.
Yeah.
So I think it shows him all that so that he will eventually go there. It is written. So he comes out of that. He goes to save Luther. Luther blows up. And then what? Does the government arrest him? I think. Shay and...
Yeah, they come in and...
Shay gets him.
Yeah.
Then they bring him in front of the president, Nick Offerman, Rob...
Well,
Delaney.
hold on a second. Is that... Okay, I'm also thinking of there's another box later with a big cloak over it, which is the bomb.
That's later.
Okay, so that they show up again to try to arrest him again. So they bring him from Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman.
Who is like...
Rob Delaney. And then a bunch of other character actors.
Yeah.
Just funny who they get. I don't know. Also, these movies are so well cast until these last two movies where they get Cary Elwes, who I like as a guy. I think he's probably cool, but terrible actor. I don't know how he's had a career. And then, like, I think Rob Delaney was in other ones.
He was in the last one, too, because he's in the room with Cary Elwes, right?
Yeah,
I think that's the first time we see him.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, this is weird. Because it's not brought in a way where it's like, oh, it's cool.
Yeah, he's just a guy.
You know what? Where it's like, so why?
And now Nick Offerman's like,
and then being confused because like the way these people are in the world, I know they're actors, but just like when they cast certain people, you just have a like, they're not in another one, are they? Where it's like, why is Nick Offerman all of a sudden
right?
Being a character actor for 4 minutes?
Yeah, and he's like not even that big.
Madam President. It's like, that is no one.
What are you doing?
And then guy from whatever, Mindhunter.
Yeah.
Whatever that guy is.
Which I like that guy. I like all these people. It's just strange.
You gave him a big ol' airplane.
So they get Ethan, and I do like this where they're like, he's the guy that broke into Langley. Mm-hmm. He's the guy that blew up the Kremlin. He's the guy. Like, they go through his rap sheet, which...
You would have been there for that. And they're like...
which would have been cool if they didn't already show a highlight reel.
Right.
It's, again, just one of these things where like, we know he did that because you started the movie.
That's like, you could have done that here.
Do it here.
Yeah.
But, so they say, okay, you... Basically, all the nuclear powers in the world are losing their nuclear power to the entity. There's only a couple left. We are going to blow up the rest of the world if it comes to that.
Yeah.
If everyone else loses control, we're going to just blow them up preemptively. Unless you've got an idea. Basically. And he's like, well, I do.
Tells it to them. They're like, that is so crazy.
But Madam President's already writing a little note to another new character.
Yep.
That doesn't matter. And she ultimately says, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, she writes down the date that the first Mission Impossible came out or whatever. And then, like, remember that, like, whatever. We don't know yet. We know that she is lying. Right? She signs off on it because you go, oh, she's... Yeah. Then they say, take him away. Then you go, hey, wait a second. Then they take him outside and you're like... For some reason, you do that.
Yeah, for some reason.
Then they take him to Hannah Waddingham or whatever.
Yep, they take him to Rebecca from Ted Lasso. Doing an American accent. She's doing an American.
And she's very good at it.
I couldn't even tell she was faking.
Mr. They all call him Mr. Mr., you get the heck off my ship.
Yeah.
So then he has to retell everyone his crazy plan.
Yeah.
Tell me the crazy plan once. I know it's funny when it's like, that's crazy, but it's sort of a Marvel, you know, or the DC where it's like, that guy just freaking flew. Is this even real life? Where every single character has to hear his crazy plan.
Yeah.
And they go, have you thought this out? And he's like, not really. And then goes to the next guy and they're like, do you know how crazy you sound? He's like, yeah.
But basically she doesn't want to until he gives her a note from Madam President
that says, 30 years ago, someone didn't listen to someone. They died.
And we don't really get that. We don't really get that story, but apparently that's a little secret between her and the president. So she says, all right.
If the president says this, it's good enough for me.
This is what bothers me, though. It's like, just take him right to the sub. Mm-hmm. We don't need this. Why is this even in the movie? I mean, I like Rebecca.
But like you're saying, it's just almost for the sake of, Tom loves TV and shit, right? He loves Severance.
Sure.
He loves Ted Lasso, I guess, but he's like, get me... Get me that lady,
I just don't, because then he goes to her.
He just wants them somewhere.
I guess, but then put her in with the president's.
He does. He wants her somewhere.
Okay, so he
He was 33 in the first one.
He goes to the aircraft carrier and she's like, "There's only one man crazy enough that, and he has a submarine. And he's in the area that you need. If he responds to my call, we will do this for you." And he's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So now we go to a different ship. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Benji, and the rest, Grace and the other one, Paris, they're going to.
Yeah.
They have to send him the coordinates of
mm-hmm.
of where to come up at from the deep ocean.
Yeah.
He's trying to get to the Sevastopol to get the source code. They're trying to get the coordinates of where the Sevastopol is so that they can save him when he comes up, right?
Yes. May 22nd, 1996. This is also the release date of the first Mission Impossible film. That is funny.
Good. Just make it something.
A weird way to do it. Just like make it the first Mission Impossible. The date that movie came out. Not even the date from the movie. Right. Like a real date that a movie came out in real life.
I mean, it's cool.
It's a little Easter egg, but I don't know. I just had to find that.
Yeah, that's
I had to
good.
give people the good stuff. So yes, they are on their own mission.
So they're going to,
because it's exact. So if they get those coordinates, they can go meet him there.
Well, and they need to relay the coordinates because of some sonar or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They need to send him the coordinates in his submarine so that he knows where to dive
mm-hmm.
to get to the Sevastopol. And so that they know, so he knows, and he has a little tracker so that they know where he's going to come up so they can save him, because he will probably die if he doesn't go into the decompression chamber right away or whatever. I mean, this is all cool stuff. It takes too long to get there.
I am a little confused about why they don't go together. Like, if they went and got the coordinates and could meet him there, is it just like, well, by the time you're done, we can meet you at the top instead of going to get the coordinates? But it takes the same amount of time almost. Like, for them to get there, does it just like he needs a suit and they can let him out of the sub halfway into the ocean already? Is that it?
I don't know.
You know, because he gets sort of like the deep sea suit.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really do anything. But like they have a suit for him and it's cold, water.
Right.
But why, if they're going to meet him directly above, couldn't they all go together and they could say, all right, see you, and then he'd dive down, go in, and then come back up to them?
Well, I think also he had to go because he was being arrested or whatever.
So he just has to meet them there because they're all...
Because it's one of those mission things where...
You don't have time. You got to get the...
Yeah, where he's like, okay, you guys go do this, we'll figure it out, and pray to God we are all on the same page at the same time. Which is always fun.
But like you said, but to me, it is
the
that
timeline,
sort of,
it's like crazy.
Because of how much time it takes.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, now we are sort of, I don't know. If he's got to get there, and now all of a sudden they're dealing with like being essentially held hostage and dealing with a house fire and all this stuff.
Yeah.
How long is it taking him to get there? And then there's the up and down of like every 2 hours we can go up for 15 minutes and get the thing. And he's like, still nothing.
Oh, and by the way, I think before all this happens, Shea Wiggum reveals his secret, I think, to Tom. Or maybe they pick him up again later. I can't remember.
That he is
Jim Phelps' son.
Yeah.
But he changed his name.
He changed his name because he goes, or should I call you Jimmy Phelps Jr., Jim Phelps' son? So he's
John Voight's kid.
Yeah.
That he's like, you were 7 and he left you or something. I don't. And Shay's like, maybe my dad was bad. Maybe you framed him or whatever. He's like, just a thing that didn't need to happen.
But it doesn't need to happen exactly because right after he says that, he goes, but this ain't about that.
Right.
Like, I don't care if he was, Satan's son.
It's not. It's not about me and my family name.
Another just a weird way to make a connection that's like,
yeah.
So, but you also joined like your dad was an IMF agent and somehow, and also was bad.
Yeah.
Like he turned, but then his son also somehow rises to like the highest rank of whatever, not IMF,
right?
But someone that can travel the globe on the dime of the government,
right?
To track down someone that maybe whatever's going on there with those guys.
Yeah.
But he's also like a top agent, but didn't know his dad. So it's like, so you did the same thing, but then changed your name.
Like to not have the Jim Phelps stink, but
maybe did, maybe didn't. It's not even what this is about. Okay.
And then I think it is just,
and that's it.
Yeah.
He goes, maybe at the end of this, I'll shake your damn hand, but it's a damn dirty ape hand if I ever seen one.
Well, I think they only set that up because, he says like, this all said and done, you and me will have our
final reckoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the end,
crazy.
Like he walks up to him and does anyone on earth think they're not going to shake hands?
Right.
Just stupid.
I would have loved
if he blows his head off.
The craziest way to like put your gun down is to first hold it up to someone and then drop it down. Yeah. He doesn't do it to be like, he thought I was going to shoot you.
No.
It's just like it's in his hand.
Yeah.
I thought he really, for a second, I just thought, man, that would have been awesome.
Kind of cool.
But no, they do shake hands and then kind of maybe thinks he's going to hug him, but he just actually walks by him.
Yeah. It's like, okay.
Feels like you need another take.
Yeah. But it's probably one of those things where we had 20 minutes to shoot this because the sun was setting and there was a bomb going off. But
I don't know why that happens.
It's just for that moment. But I don't get that because...
But you can also have that moment because he's been chasing him for the last 2 movies.
Yeah. And...
You know what? I'm a fucking idiot. I was wrong.
Degas was right. And... But even at the end of Dead Reckoning, Degas is already kind of like, I think maybe we're in the wrong here. And Shea Wiggum's guy is kind of starting to be like...
I thought they were both going to turn. Because they see Kittredge. Yeah. He's like, I'm not here.
Yeah.
Only my eye vein is.
Well, that's what... Yeah, because at the end of Dead Reckoning, then Shea kind of turns on Kittredge. And he can shoot Ethan.
And he doesn't.
But he doesn't. But then this movie's like, God damn, you were my daddy's arch enemy, and also
he's been right about everything.
Yeah.
So maybe he was right about your Diddy, right?
It just, even if they want that moment at the end, you know who they do it with? Kittredge, because Kittredge is a villain.
Yeah, he's the bad guy. He is, and what I wanted to see happen is Shea Wiggum fighting alongside Ethan Hunt.
Of course.
And I know that one of them's a character name and one of them's a real name guy. But I want to see him fighting with like, you got it.
Yeah. And they're shooting and shit. Yeah, that's cool.
And they probably didn't because Degas has literally nothing to do.
Right.
And he even says that in parts of the movie. I'm no help for you. Like, I'll go with these old people.
I guess I'll stay here with Ma and Pa.
Well, that one, she don't speak a lick of English, so basically I'm going to have to hold a bomb for her. But it's like, he has nothing to do. That's like, the team is getting too bloated.
Yeah.
So they're probably like, I don't know, maybe he's still kind of coming after me.
Yeah.
Weird stuff. So they go to...
They go to wherever they are.
Middle of nowhere.
Antarctica or some shit.
Sure, right between the Baltic Sea, between Russia, where I can see my house from, or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's in there and it's cold.
Right. And they go because they go to this little station that monitors deep sea sounds or whatever to get the coordinates. And who but a little man who's got a stomach bug from 30 years ago due to one Ethan Hunt and his team of his merry band of ne'er-do-wells, the guy Dunlow.
The guy Dunlow himself.
You're Dunlow. You had the most secure room in all of Langley. How'd you know that, boy? I mean, I like this because in mission 1, they're like, what do we do with him?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, send him to the farthest place out possible.
So,
basically.
Tom's like, what if we saw that? What if we get to see him out there?
It's kind of a fun. I like that. It's kind of a fun.
And it's also the fun mission stuff of them all talking about, don't mention why we're here. Don't do that. And then they go and he's like, you're Dunlow.
Yeah.
And so then you've got all the little Russian guys that are like, we heard you said Dunlow.
Yeah. Russia's there because they also want the coordinates.
I wish I could help you. This is my wife. Sorry. And they all come out in their white, like whatever the bad guy's wearing in Home Alone 3.
But my thing too is like, okay, well, could that be a part where it's not Russian guys, it's the cult or something?
Yes.
But why would the cult want the coordinates?
I don't know. Why is Russia why are they just
there
hiding in the house?
Yeah.
Because they're waiting for him to make he's been stringing them along saying he can get the stuff off the big floppy disk?
I think so.
Because then when someone knocks at the door, they're like, hide. So they all hide,
yeah.
and,
Yeah. Oh, hey, yeah. Come on in. I wish I could help, but yeah. So, yeah, they have to deal with the Russians. The little wife goes out to feed the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
They beat up a guy with the help of Grace. They do some other stuff.
Meanwhile, Ethan jumps into the sea.
Well, meanwhile, also, Ethan's meeting Tremaine Tillman.
Mm-hmm.
Jumps
in the sea. The guys float up.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because at that point, I was like, "What the hell's he doing?" He just jumped out of this. Because I was like, "What's the plan here?"
I thought he was jumping in to go to the Sevastopol. I was like, "Dude, what the fuck? You can't just go. You need a suit."
But he was right. They're waiting for him.
They were waiting for him. But see, that's where like all this setup is like. In your effort to make everything clear, you made it confusing because I forgot that Rebecca said that we could get a guy. Maybe he'll be there. Maybe he won't.
Right.
Like, because we're shifting around so much stuff. I don't know.
And then going between the storylines. So to me, that doesn't mean you can jump into the ocean
and they'll get you.
And hopefully, but it's before we know if they're going to be there. Right. So luckily they are. Yeah. And it's Ethan doing the, hey, this could be it, but I got to take my chance. But like you're saying, so the president sends him to her. She can't help him.
No.
But she luckily knows a guy in the sub in the exact space that's just crazy enough. So let's cut a little of the fat and just maybe she knows someone that can take him to.
Have the president send him right to the sub.
Yeah, she's either on the sub or it's Tillman.
Yeah.
That's who she knows.
Yeah, sorry, you can't have both.
Yeah.
I know you like all the Apple Plus shows. You can only have one. Or just put her, put one of them in the room with the president or put one of them at the... Because
it kind of is just becoming cameos.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
I
like those actors, but...
I do too, but I want to be in the movie.
Right.
Like, I know Tom Cruise is a huge actor. Yeah. Whatever.
But he's Ethan.
Exactly. In these movies, he's Ethan. I don't see
Jerry Maguire.
Well, I do. But I don't see Benji as Shaun of the Dead guy. Like, I know them as these characters now.
Yeah.
But then you go from like her and then you get Mr. Milkshake.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's doing the same thing.
I don't know, mister.
You might be so crazy that I might be in love. And he starts marching around.
Yeah. But no,
But they're also, like you said, awesome.
Yeah.
I love him.
Of course.
And he goes a little wide-eyed and he's like, you crazy. I like that.
Yeah.
And you're just like, yeah.
Yeah. And it is fun.
But it's like they all just are for how complicated of like, and then he's got to go there and go there. It all just works for him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, he jumped into the water. They're there. He goes down. The guy's like, yeah, let's take him down. Great. That's why we do have that. I think also it's like, well, something's got to go wrong. So we do have knife fight.
Yeah.
And he can't. he's going to get overpowered. He's an old man.
Yeah, he's running on the treadmill because they're like, if you take this suit off, or like they go through such painstaking detail of like, you cannot do this. Even with this suit, it's going to be nearly impossible. We have to make sure that your lungs are okay. We have to make sure we need to condition you now because this will be the most dangerous thing you could possibly do. It will take you 20 minutes to get down there. It will take you 30 minutes to get up.
You will get the bend, sir. If you hold your breath, your lungs will explode. If you breathe out, your lungs will never expand again. There's going to be so much pressure down there, your eyes are going to pop. And then they tell him again, also before he jumps in.
Yeah.
Now, this is the one stunt of these movies that is fake, right? He's not diving to the bottom of the ocean. I just mean when they do the like,
right.
You're going to be outside of the tallest building in the world on a rope.
Right.
They don't like do this. They just go, that's crazy. Are they really selling it because they know it's all fake? And so they feel like they have to make us understand that going to the bottom of the ocean is dangerous.
Right. I don't know, but it works against the movie because then none of that happens.
I don't understand that. I could not understand. I was like, isn't the point that there's so much pressure? And I thought the suit had something to do with that. Like, it's this person's special suit for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, it's not just the breathing apparatus.
No.
It's like,
well, it's like a special compression, but it's like a prototype or whatever. Like it's not been tested, or like they're still testing it, or something like that, right?
And then but he just takes it off.
Okay, now we finally get to where I thought the movie was going to start, which is him dinking around in the Sevastopol.
Yeah.
Which I think I said in the last review, and this is what I was dreading this whole time, ever since they introduced the submarine, the sunken ship. I was like, underwater stuff, it's slow. I know that they're filming it just in a big tank on like the Warner Brothers lot or whatever. It's not, like it's just, you can't move fast. It is slow. So unless you play with that, it's just boring. I don't like underwater stuff. I don't like submarine movies. I don't like anything. I don't like that stuff. It's not fun to me. So I was when that was the big cliffhanger of the last one, I was like,
well, here's what I think they saw Dune, first of all. He wanted to do Dune underwater. Okay. I like seeing the scale of the submarine, like when he comes out of
course,
their sub, and then he immediately gets chopped into 100 bits.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, he is like underwater, and these things are like he is nothing.
Yeah.
In the vastness of the ocean. They also give him the same halo jump like they have to do that to light his face again, so it's the same mask. Then there's another sub or whatever that he bounces off of.
Well, yeah, there's like a Russian sub following
them, right? So he bounces off of that one, fine, gets down to this one, and you're like, oh, it's gonna start tumbling or whatever.
Yeah, it starts rotating.
Okay, but like you're saying, we know this is all fake. Not that I can't watch a movie that's fake.
No, of course not.
But it is like, then he's got to get into there. Whereas the last time they did a water stunt, everyone's always like, I try to hold my breath. Yeah. And he's like, I do too. When I watch it, I hold my breath. And he's like, I know, me too. It's so hard. Even though we knew he like held his breath for 17 minutes.
Yeah.
But it is the thing where it's like, he's underwater. So you're like, he's only got this much time or whatever.
Yeah.
This one, he just kind of dives down there. And then also, is there oxygen in there?
Yeah, I think. In his suit?
In the sub.
Oh.
Like, is there leftover oxygen? Because then he eventually takes it off. He has to take his suit off or whatever. Where it's like, what the hell's going on down here? I thought there's so much pressure.
Yeah.
And it's sunk to a spot where not even the sub would go or whatever.
Right.
What's going on?
Well,
I do like the set piece inside that the water's coming in from everywhere.
Yeah, I was going to...
falling around.
My whole thing was I was wrong, and it was awesome. And I shouldn't have doubted Tom and McHugh to concoct... I mean, I still think it's not like the greatest, just by the very nature of it being underwater and shit. But if you're doing an underwater scene, this is about as good as it gets, in my opinion. We had our own impossible mission that just happened, but everything's sorted out now. If you're seeing this, we're giving you. If you're hearing this, it means the mission was accomplished. But we are like Luther,
Yeah,
and
we're no longer with you.
But basically, anyway, I was saying he had the Halo jump mask on, for the underwater stuff.
I think I said that.
But he said in interviews he actually couldn't see underwater because you can't. That's for the audience, but it's reflective. You can't see, so he is just feeling around in the underwater stuff. All that stuff, he said, I just swam out there and felt around. And we've just planned it out.
Swam out where? Where was he?
Well, in his little submarine in it. I don't know. That's a real set. They built a real thing. That's what, like, it is real. They're in water. It's tumbling around. That's all cool stuff. And then, of course, we do the fun thing that Mission does so well. He's against impossible odds. The missile shuts the door he's trying to get out of. He tries a different door now. The torpedo thing.
Torpedo silo.
He starts
to himself.
And backpack too big.
And I'm just like, no, don't go in there.
Yeah, too scary. So what's he do? The one thing they told him not to do.
Yeah.
Cuts himself out of his suit. Shivering already. Goes through the torpedo.
How cold do you think it is down there?
God, it's got to be cold. And it's dry. He's cold, but he's not in the water yet.
Then all of a sudden it's just going to be... Because then it tips again.
Yeah.
So then the silo fills with water.
And then what does he do? He just beats the door open?
I think he beats it open. He starts kicking at it or hitting at it or whatever.
He pushes a little backpack against it.
Then he's out. You see him pop out. And then safe, free, and stuck.
That's what's fun. And you're like, God.
But then I'm like, so what's going on here? How is this possible?
Yeah.
How far down is this man? I mean, he's about to be further, just say sayonara.
Well, yeah, because is he going to try to put the suit back on? Is that the thing? Oh, no, he
ripped the suit. He just has the air.
The mask,
yeah.
So he's trying to hold on so he can keep his oxygen at least. But he finally has to take his mask off and just...
I think he takes one big gulp and then takes it off.
Tries to swim.
And then what they told us was going to happen.
Get the bends.
He gets the bends. He gets the lurching. He gets the hurting. It's going to hurt more than you've ever hurt, mister. And then we see him float to the top. But we remember one little piece of a mini walkie-talkie.
That's right.
That they slipped into his little breast pocket. And they said, hey, keep track of this, hey?
Hey.
So we see a beautiful woman come to greet him. A full mouth-to-mouth. It's not to be, but it is. It's a dream, of course.
You think he's dreaming, but actually...
But you say, that's no kiss, mister. They're trying to fill your lungs.
Hey, and by the way, before that...
Yes.
Dunlow's wife teaches Grace how to ride the...
Yeah, she's...
The dog sled?
Yeah.
A funny little scene.
She's gone full Iditarod to get out there.
Yeah. Funny scene. Kind of completely unnecessary, right?
Well, here's something else. That's unnecessary because, again, it's just sort of like you drive, then go. But then she's also with her.
Yeah, she's like, so, I need to take a nap.
Even the fact that we could have just cut that, though. Like, they got out. Maybe just they're out there, and then you see the dog sled parked in the back in, like, the dog sled parking lane.
I don't even mind. It just felt like...
But the bigger thing for me, they kept showing the decompression chamber. They showed it. They talked about it. They talked about it again. They said, the one guy said, but we don't have one. And he goes, I know someone that does. And then when they pack all the stuff on the dog sled, they do a little close-up on the decompression chamber. So I assume something's going to go wrong, or else you think I'm stupid. How many times can they show it and then it just is there? I thought it was going to be like they get out there and then it doesn't open, so Benji has to like... Yeah.
Has to manually blow it up.
He's like, man is the warmest place to hide, and he cuts himself open, sacrifices himself.
Like a Tom
Ethan
Tom.
wakes up in Benji's skin, like
He's
the
like,
ultimate mask.
I've heard of mask gags, but this is ridiculous.
So nothing goes wrong.
No.
She lays with him.
She lays with him. They have a beautiful moment.
Mm-hmm.
A 40-year-old woman, a 62-year-old.
She's
woman.
actually older than I thought she was.
Yeah.
When I looked it up after, because I was like, well, I guess she did, like, when was Captain America? Probably longer ago than I would you know?
Yeah. What is she? I didn't even look it up.
She is like 43, maybe. Like, there's a 20-year age gap.
By God, but she's beautiful, isn't she?
Yes, but against all odds, of course, we know Ethan that he cannot kiss another, apparently. Right?
No, he can just kind of grab her face and look longingly into it.
And also they can kind of like cheat, like, well, okay, she did like, you know, breathe life into him. And isn't that even more intimate? How do you film doing CPR on some? No, it would be better with a little tongue. But how do you film kind of pushing on someone's chest without breaking his? She really is like, and he's like,
you know, he was probably like, Haley,
yeah, Ethan's dying.
Do it, just do it. But
by God, they can't.
That's fine.
Right? She's a criminal.
The little girls, or the little wife is watching from the sky. Apparently, there's a window on the top of it.
Yeah, it's a decompression chamber that doesn't. It's pretty lax.
Yeah, it's got like a skylight. There's like,
she's waving down.
That's funny. I mean, you get that moment because you get the moment with her and Grace learning. I just feel like we didn't need them to tell us all of the instructions of like, huh means left, rah means right, like all that stuff. It was funny, but it just went too long, which I think is basically this whole movie. It's like, oh, that's a cool idea. It's way too long. Just cut it down a little bit. But
stop showing. Like they show that. They show the decompression chamber like on the thing as she's doing that. So I'm like, something's gonna happen here.
Now, do you think that because McHugh said we filmed all this, we filmed all the flashback stuff and just didn't use it? We filmed. I have to imagine. Like, do you think they had a plan, like, or they filmed something where she would have to like, like left, right, left, like they're in a chase and she has to,
like, and it starts cracking,
yeah,
and
or
a piece
something
comes up, so the dogs have to jump.
Yeah, like,
yeah,
and there is a sequence where the decompression chamber didn't work, but
then cut out, like, you've shown it to me twice, or whatever.
I think that's mission. They film it all and then they decide, like,
but then cut out the stuff. I don't need to keep seeing it if it's just going to be like, we set it up. Maybe at that point, I was like, at that point, when it's set up, just then cut out of the little chamber and show the box. This says decompression, like portable decompression chamber that we made up for the movie.
Right.
Just show it at that point, and then it's like, ha ha ha, ha ha ha.
Do you think they like Severance because it is the same theme song?
I think so. Oh, and what if it was in a major key? Just stop making TikToks.
They filmed. Did you realize that some of the Rabbit's Foot flashback of him actually stealing it was filmed new?
Nope.
Because in Mission Impossible 3, they don't ever show him
grabbing it.
Yeah, he just.
I guess that's true.
They do actually the same gag as that we were mad about, where you don't see the action, you just kind of hear it on the radio, and then and they go pick him up. So McHugh said, "I was studying JJ, how JJ shot Mission 3 and we emulated it as closely as we could. The colors, the framing.
Could have fooled me.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, I remembered never seeing inside that building, so I was like,
now that you say that.
Did they have extra footage, or did they shoot that and just de-age Tom a little bit?
Right.
They did.
Wow. Well, he basically doesn't need it. Somehow.
Yeah, he looks great.
I feel like he's de-aged in both of these last two movies.
I feel like he looks younger in this one than he did in Dead Reckoning.
They cut to him in scenes where I'm like, something's different here.
Yeah.
But
they said in Dead Reckoning he came back with his long hair for this movie. They reshot some of the stuff in Dead Reckoning with like fake short hair. So there are some scenes in Dead Reckoning where he looks weird
because he's got a wig on over his big hair.
Yeah. So I think there is something going on where sometimes he does look younger because he literally is younger because they shot it out of sequence.
Because she makes a point to be very horny for him.
Yeah.
When she's like, I like your hair longer.
Yeah. He does look better with longer hair, I think.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the Mission 2 thing. That's Mission.
Yeah.
Because they take stuff from each movie.
Right.
They had to take the hair from 2. This is where she also is like, only a big, strong man could handle that, but why not? And it's like, is she turning against him?
Yeah, and he's like kind of mad at her.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this would be interesting to see, like, if she turns.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
She's just like, okay,
I trust you.
So he's got it. He's got the source code, right?
He's got the source code. He's got the key.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he used the key.
Yeah.
Did he keep the key?
He's got the key, but then someone has a duplicate, right?
Oh yeah, the Russians have a duplicate, I think.
This one of one. They make a big deal about how it's the only, and it's a 2-factor, like it verifies itself.
Right.
They also have one.
Yeah,
I guess
we've got a duplicate. We just need Okay, so now what? He's decompressed. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Now they decide, well, we have to go. Now, here's the other thing. It's been like an hour and a half. We finally get to the submarine thing. Mm-hmm. That's actually cool. Mm-hmm. I'm pleased. Now it's
I'm glad you like that. I think like you're saying, they set it up in a way that you go, okay, now it's going to be all whatever.
All underwater.
But they get into the physical set where everything's rotating, and it's kind of the train set too, where it's like, how do you set this up? And then there was a clip where, the kid that like takes frames from movies and then he goes to the location. Oh. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the Rizzler's doing, he's like a Saks Fifth Avenue like model now or whatever.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But he takes the little photo and holds it up, and he's like, "This is where Harry Potter went in the wall in it." Mm-hmm. And now he's interviewing Tom Cruise. We could just do that.
Yeah, we could,
because he's on set and he's like, I'm gonna cry being here with you," and I was like, "I would too."
Yeah.
And then Tom's like, "I know." And then he's like, "It's just crazy seeing these," and he's like, "I know." Because it's like you see all the like torpedoes and stuff, and there's water spraying in, and he's like, it's all I've ever wanted to do is make movies. And the guy's like,
I know.
It's the same shit, but it is because he's still excited. Whatever they lobotomized out of him, he is like, I know, I'm doing the thing.
It's still palpable how his excitement.
On my second movie, I would be like, all right. I know he can do it now.
Yeah.
$400 million. But they've got like little sparks, the lights are flickering. Yeah. And this kid's like, I'm on the sub with you. And he's like, I know. He's like, hey, I want to thank you for all you do. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Because the kid loves movies.
Of course.
And I'm like, I love movies.
Yeah.
And Tom's like, I know. And he reaches through the screen. So I love that, where they're just on there and they're like, how the mother effing heck we got to figure out what to do.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of it's just good. So, okay, so now where do we go?
Oh,
the boys,
yeah.
The team.
Yeah.
they say, okay, well, Gabriel's going to South America, the little...
Yes, the bunker, which is sort of the last vestige of all of human history. It's sort of like the seed library, right?
Yeah.
Where if everything shuts down, we've got somehow this room has power and it's got all the data from whatever.
Right.
Okay.
And Luther, we forgot to mention, created a poison pill.
Yes.
To kill the entity.
Which is basically, they say it's like a venom.
Yes.
Which will somehow...
Venom.
It should have been... We should have heard the entity when the venom goes in. When it's like, you don't want to go there, do you? So it controls or it confuses the entity.
Yeah.
Whatever. Luther knows how to do that.
Yeah.
So, and then also, the other device...
He also created another thing.
He created a
5D.
A 5D, what they thought was only hypothetical. This 5D storage device, which is like 350 terabytes or whatever. It's as big as the entity is. Sounded kind of small to me.
Yeah.
When I'm thinking about how much the entity is taking over.
World.
And it was like 350 terabytes or something. But it's this 5D. It's this little, it's a cylinder that looks like a crystal.
Yeah.
And they stick it into a hole that I guess it fits into.
Yeah.
Okay. In that room that... Does putting the poison thing into the Podkova...
Yes.
Does that give the entity permission into that room? What's the deal here? Because it's cut off from all human contact, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the point, is that nothing can
that room.
Get into that room. That's truth.
Yeah.
Because that's all human blah blah blah.
Yep, that's the last
somehow
man
standing. Getting the Podkova,
the poison pill to the Podkova equals getting into the room. Yeah, I think. Yeah, because that's all he needs to do for it to then go light up the thing, and she can...
But why does that allow the entity into that room that is unreachable as of yet? It has all of human knowledge outside of that room, but cannot get in there.
I think Benji is also doing something, isn't he?
Yeah.
Once he gets in the room...
Getting shot.
Yeah. I think that's part of it. So maybe the Podkova confuses the entity.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see here. I'm just going straight from Wikipedia because I was trying to figure this out too, because there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Ethan outlines his plan to plug the poison pill into the Podkova, fooling the entity into downloading itself onto a physical drive.
The 5D.
And isolating itself from the outside world. Okay, so I still don't get it. Because it's fooling the entity. So the entity somehow gets access to this room, which I don't know why they need to get into that room to do this. I got to see the movie again.
Yeah. Because it is explained. It doesn't... I think once you start to examine it harder, like we're doing...
Well, as... This happens with so many of these where they just get so ahead of like what they need to happen doesn't really make sense because you've created something too big to kind of be explained as how you could get rid of it.
Right.
And I think if I knew what I was listening for this time,
yeah,
I'm sure someone somewhere in some comments will say something. But the point is, it must need to give it access to this room to trick it into whatever.
Yes.
And then it thinks this 5D module or this 5D piece is human knowledge, right?
The data, yeah.
It thinks it's the data from that room,
yeah,
but it's just the cube. So it's like, finally, I get the room. And then it goes, bing.
And she has to do it perfectly, perfect timing.
In the blink of an eye.
Otherwise, it will realize it's not what it wants it to be.
And it'll escape.
Yeah. And the world will be destroyed.
So right before that, we get another big thing under a box or under a sheet, which is the bigger cipher thing, like a bomb. Looks like the cipher.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gabriel's been waiting waiting for him to show up so that he can do his evil plan speech.
Days
whatever.
and days and days he's been waiting.
Yeah. I really don't understand what... I feel like the entity is enough.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, he's got the bomb under this sheet and it's like all theatrical. And so then he's like, well, your final reckoning.
Yeah.
What's going on? Just shoot Ethan or whatever.
Well, and that's where it's like, I think you do need more of the backstory if you're going to go with he wants to hurt Ethan for some reason. Like, I don't know. I think maybe in a perfect world, Philip Seymour Hoffman doesn't die in Mission 3 and in real life. I forgot.
I thought that's what you were saying at first. You said in Mission.
Well, I forget he got runned over in Mission. But maybe that, I don't know, tie that in somehow. Right? Just this whole, the Gabriel thing is like...
But it's like, I killed someone you loved.
Yeah.
So why?
Like,
so what?
Everyone's tried to do that.
What else do you have against him?
Right. Because it seemed like they were friends and worked together or something. And then, I don't know, from the bare minimum of the flashbacks we get, they knew each other.
There's just a lot of stuff with him, like when the two women show up to fight him on the bridge. And I'm like, no one has a gun. You all have tiny knives all of a sudden. Just weird ways to keep him around. Just to do that and be like, I'm going to blow up the whole dang thing. And you got two choices there. Then the other guys come back because they're still trying to arrest him.
Right.
Even though the president has said it's okay.
Right.
So they've sort of gone, like, Kittredge has gone rogue now.
Yeah, Kittredge is...
We're going to find the son of a bitch,
yeah.
you know. So they want him...
Because they want the entity. Like, they want control of the entity, and Ethan's the one that... So they see the little Podkova, he's like, what do I do with this? Mm-hmm. And he's got the poison pill, and he's like, da. And then...
Female male.
Another layer of Gabriel's guys.
Yes, Damien.
Sorry, that's Philip Seymour Hoffman's character.
That's Ra's al Ghul's grandson.
True. Another layer of I almost said it again. Gabriel's guys.
This is what happens when the recording breaks.
Come back in.
Yeah.
And take over the CIA guys or whatever again.
I know.
It's like, so they had guys waiting for them to be had in the first place?
Yeah.
What the hell? But that's okay because it all culminates in...
Well, we should say there's a B plot happening.
We should say that.
Because...
With the president?
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's just get this over with.
Explain that. I'm going to take a little look at our...
Okay. He's going to make sure it's not broken something. So as all this is going on, we are cutting back to the president, who, of course, we have also followed for 30 years and care about what's going on with them. They are down in the, oh God, what's that room? Well, think of it as like a big game of Battleship. What's that called? Mach 10 or whatever. What's the room called? DEFCON. They're in the Mach 5 shaver blade room, and there's a bunch of people with long sticks that are pushing around poker chips all over boards, all over, because that's how warfare is done. Those are the games of war, right?
Well, they can't use computers no more, can they?
No, so they're back to using long sticks, and basically something interesting is happening in that Tom Cruise wants to do Dune underwater, and he also kind of he saw Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
So they kind of want to do that as well.
Yeah.
And they decide that to justify starting nuclear war, because once this is all over, they know that they will be the enemies of the world and their own people. So they decide to create a false flag attack on an American city. Interesting.
Yeah.
I think this is cool.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
this is interesting because it's also grounded in reality.
Yeah.
While they're off fighting the blue eye thing.
Yeah.
But it's the president and the people deciding what city based on economic status, education, how they voted, whatever.
Yeah.
How many lives are going to be lost.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to say, someone just bombed us, so we need to bomb other people to justify it.
Yeah.
That's all interesting.
I like all that.
Bump, bump, bump. They get up to it. We keep cutting back to him. She's going to do it. She's going to hit the button. She pops the thing open. And then right before, shuts it. I should have done something a long time ago. Just shut our missiles down. Okay. So, yeah, I guess that is a smart idea. Because then on the board, I guess that all the countries can see who's got their missiles turned on today.
Right.
They shut them down. So they say the entity needs control of all nuclear weapons for mutually assured destruction of the entire world for itself as the anti-god. Another interesting thing about that is that the entity believes as the anti-god, it believes it is God. So they go, why would the entity want to blow up the whole world where it lives? And they go, well, ask Noah.
Right.
You know, that because it believes it can rebuild anew.
Right.
Can it? No, because it's not actual, it's just technology.
Right.
It would just be itself left alone until there's no power or whatever.
Right.
But it believes by doing that it can create its own world. Interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. Very.
So by taking away some of its power, it can't ensure that it can destroy all of the world and be safe from being destroyed itself.
Right.
Great. Now we see a little guy who doesn't like that.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to go run over and hit the button. So that's cool because I'm like, now there is going to be a nuke in the air. I know we've done this before.
We have, but that's all right.
But at least he goes and hits the button or something.
Right.
No, he sneaks a little sideways so he can try and shoot the president.
Right.
So then he gets shot,
Yeah.
but not before sadly killing our favorite character.
Someone we've also watched for 30 years. Nick Offerman's Secretary of State or something.
Nick Offerman's highly decorated general so that he can, Madam President, die in a chair, and we're like, crap, it is really hitting home.
Yeah, a little bit.
Kind of weird because no one in there is anyone that we care about.
Well, and then, so that's the other thing where I'm like, probably there was more to that stuff too, right?
I would
because
think
for
so.
one, to get all of those actors and then they're barely in it. Like, probably there's more going on of them like decide, like Failsafe or something, the Sidney Lumet movie.
Yes. I was gonna bring that up too. I'll cross that off my list.
Where it's basically a room of people being like, do we nuke these people or whatever? And you're like, damn. That's a boring ass movie. No, it's good. But no, I think and it goes back to where I was saying, like, I feel like for some reason they felt they needed a cult, one of the cult members to be like infiltrating the US government, but they forgot to do it until the end or something.
Yeah, like, why not have it be like one of the
people
ranking members?
Yeah, like what if Nick Offerman took his gun because he took that service member, like the guard dude. He's like, "Give me your weapon, son. Get out of here." Like, oh, I guess maybe they were trying to set that up, but then he actually was a hero. But I just don't. I don't know. It seemed.
Maybe it was getting too complicated to then have that going on because it already is sort of too long. But now it is like lead up to, whereas the actual, like the Oppenheimer thing where they land on a city to bomb,
right?
And they go, and we took Kyoto off there because we think it's a great place to vacation, and everyone in the audience is like, Jesus, this is crazy. And then they do bomb a place.
Yeah.
So that's she just decides, oh, I'll turn them off. So we keep seeing all this like sweating from these people that aren't Ethan Hunt.
Right.
Give me the candy. Why are you giving me broccoli? Like, that is interesting. But then the guy just kind of tries to shoot the president and they
Right.
kill her, and they're like, this is getting out of hand. It's like, yeah, you think that's crazy. You were about to bomb
nuke someone. Yeah.
a city in your own country.
You were about to nuke Miami-Dade County.
Because we can't figure out why it's called that.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
And then Nick Offerman dies and everyone in the theater laughs because he dies in a funny way.
Meanwhile, another thing that seems like they forgot until the last second. Back in the caves of
Moria
in the bunker, gunfight. Everyone's shooting at everyone. Gabriel gets the Podkova. Stewie and Griffin and Lois have to go in. Grace and Stewie. They're like, whatever. He gets shot.
Yeah. You see him get shot, you go, I think Benji just got shot. He's like, Ethan, go without me. It's all right. I never thought he'd leave.
Yeah. And then So then Ethan, he's running after Gabriel. He's like, oh, yeah, we need a car chase. We didn't do that this movie.
Yeah.
Hops into a Jeep. Driving through the caves for like 30 seconds. Flips it. And then gets out and runs away. Cool.
Every chance they give him to run in this movie too, because he gets out.
Yeah. And then that beautiful shot of him running, like when the sun is kind of like, he's like running after the damn airplane. But it was just like, I mean, I love their car chases because they always do something really cool. And this one was just like.
It was like an Austin Powers car chase where like one swerves and then they're like, we're gonna they hit a wall. Yeah.
It just felt. I mean, it was cool that he like grabbed the seatbelt and because he knew he was gonna tip over, but
because he probably did do that.
Yeah.
So,
but then he runs out and he sees the plane taking off and he's still running like
he's gonna catch it.
Ethan,
I kind of thought he might. I know it's not the color. I know he's on like it's like ketchup and mustard, and he got to get on ketchup.
Yeah.
Well, then the other thing is, should have mentioned earlier in the movie, in the mines or whatever, dumbass talks about how he has his getaway planned, and he brought his plane.
Yeah.
I even brought a backup. I just said out loud in the theater, 2 planes. Why do that? So crazy to me.
Well,
I know for me, I'm supposed to be excited.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, he brought it back up. But it's like, I've seen the thing. I know.
But when he said, I even brought it back up, I went, I know.
I laughed, but
I went, I know you did. But and thank God you did.
But why would someone say that? What are you even talking about?
He doesn't need to say
No, real G's move in silence.
True.
Just get out of there. And then you got a guy with you or whatever.
Yeah. Because then when Ethan is running and he says, all right, I can't catch up. And he turns around and another plane just comes right at him without having known Gabriel brought another one. That's cool. So you're like, holy shit, what? There's another plane. Because the whole time you're like, well, I know there's another plane.
Because it's like he got away. Then it's like,
yeah, there's another one.
It also doesn't make sense that it's like, okay, so this guy is just his back, like Gabriel's leaving, so his assistant
friend
has to fly his other plane. He's not going to leave one there.
No, those are expensive.
So he's just following him to like get his other plane back home.
Yeah.
Instead of like, he's got, I don't know, a guard or something with him.
Hey man, we need a way for Tom to get on a second plane. What else are you gonna do?
It could just be the way. Like he's got 2 guys with him.
Yeah.
And
in fact, they could have done.
Plane.
They could have had 3.
Mm-hmm.
Just make that sequence even longer. Like just for the symmetry of one plane with 2 other planes behind it, and he has to like.
Yeah.
run across the wing and jump
He's
onto
on
the
top
other one.
of it. Yeah.
Well, anyway,
We'll make the next one.
the plane comes at Ethan and it hits him.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, but then he's hanging on to the landing gear or whatever, the little wheels. And it is the way my heart starts beating faster when I know the big thing's happening. And as you're just watching him and the ground starts to get smaller and smaller as he's holding on. I'm sure some of that was fake of like him being in the gravel.
Like dragged. Yeah.
But at a certain point it becomes real because because you see him just the ground gets small. He's going up into the air.
I don't know how else to say it. There is a real like for them to hold that unbroken.
Yeah,
it goes
it's
back
awesome.
to him on the side of the plane where it's like that is the shot when you are outside of something going so fast and it's like you're done.
Yeah.
If you fall off now, it's already too late.
Yeah.
Let alone when you are above the you're just up there.
Awesome.
And then that is crazy that he's flying his plane into Ethan's plane to like eat it. Like it's two cartoon characters. It's like this propeller's like taking bits of it out. He's like,
So we finally get to the big aerial stunt show.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think?
Was this shot on IMAX? Is this something where I can go and this is where I get the extra 26%?
I think so.
Because I want to see more of the ground.
Yeah.
Because it's cool because I know he's up there. You know?
You're ruining everything.
I could never do that. I think it's cool.
You didn't like it.
Well, I do wonder with he's held onto the side of a plane.
Yeah.
And then we saw Top Gun where he's in planes. The guy loves planes. Now, what we haven't seen is these two dinky planes getting so close to the side. The fact no one's died making these movies blows me away. Just that one shot of him, just the promo shot where he's like, "We're free at the movies," you know, and then the planes just fall away, and you see how high up they are. You're just like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah,
he's just on the plane.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you get that? And then when he's hanging on the wing, I was like, "Do they have to account for that?" Because when I've been on a plane, like a real plane, they go, "You need to move over there because you're too fat."
Right.
So how is one guy on the side of this tiny plane?
They account for all of that.
They're prepared. But he's just in the air.
Yeah.
And how many times did they have to like go up and reset?
Yeah.
And then there probably is another plane filming them.
I think there's a helicopter.
Awesome. It's crazy.
Yeah. But
well, here's my problem with it. Well, say what you want about the plane stunt, because mine is a little bit towards the end.
I mean, it gave me the feeling again of Fallout, where I was just laughing the whole time.
It was better than, because when I was like, okay, planes again.
Yeah.
That's I was like, I know, because they don't know what else to do.
Different though.
But it is. That's and then when he is accounting for every time it falls, he flips around and has to like.
Yeah, he keeps.
Then he's upside down and his hair's parting. And his little coconut head.
Yeah, and you see, and like there is a certain point where he reaches 0G in between the wings, so he's just floating.
Yeah, and then, then he sees the little flippers.
Yeah,
and just like he's like just holding it down,
grabs one, and the guy's like, "Hey,
now,
my flipper."
Then he breaks his arm, which is insane.
Yeah.
It looks so painful. And it's just flapping in the wind.
Well, and of course, he's on the red plane. He punches that guy. And it's the same reaction for both of them because he climbs up the side of it and the guy like does a double take. Like, and then Ethan punches him. And then for a while he's driving with just his foot so he can grab on to the yellow plane. Finally
because he sees that he's been hit enough that the wing has become disconnected.
So he's got to jump, And then we just see that plane just kind of fall. That's awesome. And then
is that real? Do you think?
Gotta be.
How many things did they just drop?
Yeah.
Some like some uncontacted tribe.
Yeah. They're just like
gained a new god or whatever.
Or were killed. But then he climbs up the side of Gabriel's plane and he goes. Yeah. He does the same double take. And he punches him.
Well, in the red one, does he get in the wrong? He's like,
yeah, there's no.
It's like a Three Amigos thing.
Yeah,
where he realizes all the controls are in the other.
Yeah,
one.
he gets in the front and there's no controls. That's funny. That's what this felt more like a good old classic mission where like there are jokes in the sequence. Like, whoa,
orb.
And yeah, just when they flip over and he's just hanging.
Because you kind of realize there isn't anything else other than the Sevastopol thing.
Yeah.
Which is not really a stunt. It's a set piece, I guess.
Yeah,
but you don't get this.
Yeah, this is the thing.
Which this is the stuff I don't know what you're planning. Like how you're doing this. Right. I don't know how you plan this.
Yeah. Well, he's already got ideas for a bigger one next time.
Great. But he is going to die.
But, okay, so he breaks Gabriel's arm. They flip over again. He's holding on for dear life, trying to grab the poison pill. And then he unlatches Gabriel's thing. And then Gabriel's also... Do you think that guy was like, well, Tom's doing it, I have to? Because people have said that where they're like, well, Tom like just motivates you to do it also. So do you think whatever that guy's name is, the actor was like, all right, I'll also hang from the plane? Or was that green screen? I couldn't quite tell, but
to me, it was green screen because it looked
think so too.
Maybe too dangerous.
Yeah.
Because like one arm's not working or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, could he just like hit the side of the plane or...
Yeah. There was like one wide shot, and I was like, well, okay, so it's a stunt guy.
Yeah.
But,
well, the thing I didn't like, and this maybe call me a sadistic maniac.
No.
But the same with Mission Impossible 3 when Douglas dies.
Damien.
He like gets hit by whatever. Truck.
Yeah. And
you go, okay. Like he's truly like a terrorist.
Yeah.
And they just like pretty, I don't know, to me, like, I guess sudden death.
Yeah. It's kind of an anticlimactic end for that character.
Well, I also feel that way about this.
Yeah.
His biggest whatever.
Yeah.
But he like hits his nuts.
Yeah.
And then flips over and hits his head.
Yeah.
I was like, I kind of want to see him like go down in the plane. Like I wanted to see something, or just he's like alive as he falls. You know, it's just like
yeah.
Ah!
Yeah.
Give me something. Put a little terror into the heart of this man that's done so much bad in the world.
It was a weird way.
He just gets out of it
to end on a joke.
His head cut. He hits his nuts.
He hits his nuts. His head splits open,
and then he just kind of slides off.
Yeah.
I was like, I saw a guy like hit a propeller in Titanic, you know, when he falls off the back and flip. And you're like, oh, that guy just was trying to get to America.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything wrong.
No.
This guy gets out scot-free.
Well, I'm sure it hurt.
Yeah, but your nuts hurt for a second and then you hit your head.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and as you know, if you've ever had your nuts hit, it doesn't hurt at first.
It takes a second to work. I went to the doctor and I said,
so shocked.
I said, my eye hurts. He said, well, try taking the spoon out of your coffee when you're drinking it.
Yeah, that's really good.
I said my arm really hurts. My shoulder hurts. And then he hit me in the leg, or he kicked me in the shin. I said, what was that for? And he goes, well, does your shoulder hurt anymore? Or something. It was something like that he did.
Yeah.
I go, my shin hurts. He goes, well, you're not thinking about your shoulder anymore.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's what they do, because you pay them to keep you sick.
Right. Yeah.
The camera's off.
So Gabriel,
So kind of a stupid death.
But I almost think that's almost a meta commentary thing of like, they're like, well, we know this character kind of became a joke, so we're gonna give him a joke death,
like a humiliating.
Yeah, because like,
but like
he ended up not being the thing that they probably set out to do, so they kind of made him a goofball.
I want Tom to get out of there.
Yeah.
Ethan with a parachute or whatever, and then he's still just hanging on to the side of a plane that's going down into the jungle.
That'd be awesome.
And you see it, go down as he's just.
Yeah,
there's nothing you can do at that point.
I agree. I didn't love that as an end for him, but
give me something.
So
Tom hit a guy with a big old hatchet earlier.
Yeah.
What? That's dark. Shut up. Have him go through a propeller.
Yeah. So Tom gets
he gets the poison pill.
He slides it into, well, he can't quite get it while he's on the plane, so he says, I'll jump off the plane.
Yeah.
That'll be easier. Not, of course.
Yeah, I would say just take a few more seconds on the plane.
Yeah, just focus up a little more.
Tighten up your hands.
But it's also starting on fire. So that's part of it. He jumps out. His parachute starts on fire.
Then we see the parachute, the little flame, and you go, oh, no. And hey, look. I said, this is it. Because we know Benji's probably not going to die. Because they're putting a pen into his heart.
Right.
And he's telling her what to do.
Yeah.
Don't cut that. Hey, Red is dead, right?
Right.
Well, don't cut the red wire. Maybe. Right. And so that's happening. And they're waiting. And then you see him go down. He tries to put up his second parachute. You don't see jack crap coming out of the back, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And he finally gets it. Ding.
Yep.
But I was like, they did it. I think.
I was kind of thinking.
I was pretty sure going into the movie he would die.
Ethan?
Yes.
Interesting.
Just because I know that it was always like, there might be more, whatever crap. But then I saw, Simon Pegg says goodbye to Mission and all this stuff.
Sure.
I was like, okay, I think it is ending.
It's probably ending.
I thought, I'm like, what's left for Ethan Hunt, who's gone through so much? It's to
his friends
sacrifice himself, but I know he wants to be James Bond too. Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
So I bet they're like, well, they killed Bond.
Yeah.
Can't kill Ethan Hunt.
No, he's better than Bond.
So his parachute finally does blossom, right? He's fine.
He's fine, and yes.
The same way the last movie ended, him taking a parachute. There's only so many things you can do, people.
Yeah. Well, and this end is basically the ending of Fallout, which is like one group is defusing a bomb, the other one is basically defusing a bomb. They're like rewiring the entity or whatever, busy work while he's doing his stunt. He, at the end of Fallout, he clicks the trigger thing to undetonate the bombs or whatever the hell it is. I don't remember, but he finally gets the thing and clicks it, and they don't know if it's all going to work out or not. It does, of course. This is basically the same thing. He needs to get the one thing to trigger it so that, and the old people are defusing their bomb. They run to the door in 10 seconds to save themselves from the bomb. Benji, Grace, and Paris are getting the entity. Basically the same thing. Where then he like wakes up on the field and is like, instead of looking out over a cliff, he's in a little field.
Yeah. And he's like, ouch.
But I did like, here's what I did like, because there are only a few things you can do with these types of movies. They've done 7 of them. What else are you going to do? I get all that. And at the end of the day, they are all like
8 of them.
Being friends is what
friends.
Yeah, is what makes us be able to save people. And it's the sort of teamwork thing, which I like. That's all good. I liked that.
Doesn't sound like.
I liked that they set up Grace being the pickpocket, who's like even a better pickpocket than Ethan.
Which is a better pickpocket than Ethan?
And they at least found like a cool, like, she's the one that has the right timing to do the little
She's
grab.
the fastest. The wrong kid died.
Yeah.
They killed Faust.
Mhm.
Should have been her because she's so darn fast. When the light turns on, she can go.
But I do it because she has to do the and then.
Yeah.
I liked that. I liked that, like, the right people in the team were where they needed to be. I feel like that's a good.
And the killer must save a life.
Mm.
I've killed people. It's
Right.
like, that'll have to do. You know?
Yeah. So they're fine. Yeah.
They're fine.
Degas doesn't do anything.
Right. He's covered in soot.
The
I want to see Dunlow and Tapisa's movie.
Yeah.
I want to see the Hobbs and Shaw.
What the hell
Where
they
they're
get
like,
up
I think
to
we're
next?
staying in the jungle for a while.
Yeah. Well, and Dunlow's like, Degas like, how do you know how to do this? And he's like, I don't. But he does. So
Now hold this and don't move.
yeah. I love that everyone is kind of like, it is the Fast and the Furious thing too, where like Luther can now create things that don't exist, and like everyone has become the peak version of, like, at the beginning of the series that he's like a hacker,
Right.
and now he's creating.
It is where they're like, Ludacris is suddenly like creating, like, well, he faked the internet.
Yeah.
So someone thinks they're on the internet or
Yeah.
whatever. some stupid thing that happens.
So so Dunlow, the guy who's like a security analyst or something, can defuse a bomb if he has to.
I guess he's also been living on a remote part of the world in a cabin for 30 years, but he's somewhere in his mind he's got that.
He's still got it. Still, he never probably did.
Never had it, and also things have changed.
Yeah, for the last 30 years. Well, so Ethan then is confronted by what's his name, and Shay.
Yeah,
Shay
Klendensky.
Gives him a handshake. They almost hug, but they don't.
Yeah, Kittredge is still mad or something.
Kittredge, yeah, he's
what the hell's going on with him?
He always seems evil.
Yeah, do something with that.
He just wanted the entity. But he knows that Ethan...
He thinks the U.S. needs it or whatever.
Yeah. He thinks that Ethan destroyed it. And yeah. Then we hear, of course, Luther's final message to Ethan, which is basically like, treating people with kindness is the way to live. And it's like, what?
But you already know that, brother.
I mean, it is sweet, but it's also like, I don't know that these two ever talked like this before. But whatever. And like,
because it's like it also isn't that they're like
right.
They are like assassins.
Yeah, they like kill
the
people.
Impossible Mission Force.
We have to have hope, Ethan.
Ah.
We see the president. Also, another little thing that they sprinkled throughout is like the president is very concerned with where her son is.
She has a son,
which is something we've known for 30 years also. And then at the end, we do... Now, of course, did I get a little misty-eyed? Of course I did.
Yeah, when you see one guy standing a little bit out and you're just like... Hi, Mom. And you're like, yeah! The guy behind me is like...
It is... I mean, God...
I don't know why.
No.
Because what's... Why
I've never
that?
seen that guy. We've barely seen Madam President.
Yeah.
But I'm still like, God, that's nice. They're just so good at making these movies. And like even when it's kind of phoned in or whatever, it's like the things that they're like, well, you're supposed to feel this way during this moment, which is what Tom is basically always saying. Like, I want to tell the best story so that you feel what I want you to feel when I want you to feel it. And in that regard, it works almost every time.
Yeah, and because for whatever reason, I think they have those moments because they like them.
Yeah.
It's not like a cynical like,
No.
we need someone to see their
it's-
family member. Tom's like, she almost did this but
Yeah.
like she did the best thing and she gets to go see her son.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
look, this normally doesn't happen. We run a tight ship around here, right?
Typically, yes.
Like, what's her face?
True.
With the biscuits
and the
Mr. Tillman.
But tonight we're like, I mean, I'm feeling like the team on Ghost Protocol and all their equipment don't work.
Mm-hmm.
All of our equipment's not working. Well, anyway, yeah, the president's our son, and
yeah. So then I guess what happens?
Ethan comes out of his little hole that he lives in.
Yes.
To the same thing that we saw at the beginning. Oh, it was so there were riots going on. Everyone was going crazy. No, it's just simply a normal night.
The tube is running as it should, right?
Yeah.
1100 hours British time. He walks out into that fateful square and stands in the middle of that fateful square. And then he looks. And oh, by the way, the guy behind me, this is when he and his son get up and leave.
Jesus.
I'm like, you can't wait another 2.
Don't you know it's going to be about 3 minutes of
they're
them
gonna
looking
nod at each other?
other?
And I think that's why he was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever. Him and his son that was sucking his thumb for 3 hours. Get out of my face.
His own thumb or his dad's thumb?
Hey, come on now. So he looks at people.
Yeah.
And he shows up and they nod.
Degas there, Paris there.
By the way, they can just they've had it. They sit down and have a beer together and stuff. It's okay for them to like talk in public.
Yeah.
They've shut down the entity. It's not like,
yeah, who's after him now? Well,
but it's not about that.
Ethan still has the Grace hands him the entity, is that right?
Oh yes. She goes, and you're gonna need this. Because she trusts him with
yeah, it's like in a little case and he opens it and looks at it.
Yeah, the 5
out in public.
Yeah, so that's fine. That he has a 5D 350. I don't know what that means anyway. I guess it's alive. It contains time and space. But it's in a little Pelican case.
Yeah.
So then he clips that for later.
Mm-hmm.
And then they all... the team that we've grown up with, right? Palm
Clementieff.
Benji,
we were not sure if he survived or not, but he did survive.
They're not going to take both away from us, right?
Right.
So Benji, but then you got Palm, of course, and then...
Degas, one of our favorites dating back to the very first.
Yeah.
And what?
Then we got what's her face and Grace, right? Well, I guess she hands him the thing, but Grace and we think will they, won't they? Of course they won't, because he doesn't need that, right?
No,
he's
asexual.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's recommitted to his virginity.
Yeah,
but he knows that they'll all be there when he needs him next, and they are the IMF. Yeah, and he walks into the crowd and he's just another guy, just another British guy.
Yep, it's beautiful in a way. So that is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. That has been our inaugural episode of iBuds, something we will probably never do again. What do you rate this, the potentially final reckoning? Actually, before we do that, I want to say, like I said, they've asked all the cast members. They're like, nah, I could see him doing more. Because they're kind of all like, I think like Simon Pegg is like, well, this is my big paycheck.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really do other stuff anymore.
Yeah.
I do like little weird Hulu original, and then I do this. So I think they're all like fine with doing more. What would you want to see if they came back? Do you continue with he's got the entity? Do you continue with some entity-based storyline? Someone's trying to get it? Or what?
If it were the entity, I would like it to be in that maybe in that realm of that someone wants it. And so the people that he cares about most have been compromised or put in danger, or someone has been working for someone else. Maybe Grace gave it to him because now she knows where it is, even though I guess maybe she could give it to the person, but something like that needs to be kept safe for something.
Keep it safe, my friend.
Exactly. So, I just don't want the entity to get back out because I don't care about the entity.
No. Well, and that's the other thing of like, they created this whole thing of like, people hate each other. Wars are going to break out. No one knows fact from fiction. And then he bottles the entity back up, but it's still like, isn't everyone still scared?
Yeah, like you still believe that your neighborhood's being overtaken by Venezuelan gang members.
Right. That doesn't just go away.
And multiple times they say it will destroy cyberspace.
Right.
Which I'm nodding because I know what that means. I know what destroying cyberspace means.
But then, like, I think the antidote to that is Luther's little send-off to Ethan where he's like, we have to be kind to each other. And it's like, I think there is some, like, sort of modern thing they're doing of, like, you know, this type of power in the wrong hands would be bad, as, you know, authoritarianism across the world is, like, growing. I mean, I don't think Tom Cruise really gives a shit.
No, I think he's pretty sheltered from all of that.
Yeah, but maybe McHugh. I don't know. It did seem like there was some, like, not like political messaging, but just like, hey guys, can't we all get along? Like, that's kind of the final note, is like, in this divided world, can't we all just treat each other with a little kindness? But what's that, like, that message to Ethan is, so that's how the world got out of, like, post-entity.
Right, because he's like, okay.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Luther. I
actually do treat people with kindness.
But yeah, what happens to all that divisiveness? Like, the entity went away or whatever, but what does that look like?
Yeah.
Also, did it destroy cyberspace? What the hell are you talking? Like,
well, it would have.
Did the internet go away? But now it's just like the internet's back, so there's no AI lying about stuff, and people found out they were lied to, or what? I don't know. Best not to dig too much into it. I think what I would like to see is a little break, but I don't think that can happen.
No,
because by the time the next one comes out, even if it's a little break, he'll be 65.
Right.
He's the age of my parents. I don't know what's going on. You know?
But he don't look it.
Exactly.
Not that your parents
no, and I'll be sending them this later.
No.
But he's like, he is getting older. So I don't think he's going to say, well, we'll give it 5 years. You can be 70 when you come back to this.
No.
It would be interesting to see a version that is a little more back to the original. Like, what was the De Palma?
Right.
Like that sort of spy story where it's just a well-crafted. And now that he's gone, because he did the little, you know, the stuff he wanted to redo, like he loved the little sleight of hand thing from the first one, but it's like, it was fake. I wanted to do it for real.
Right.
Like, take everything you've learned and craft a really well done story that way, right?
Yeah. I agree. I think that should be because like we were talking, post-entity, it's kind of like, do you really want to live in that world? Like, it's like the recent Jurassic Park movies where it's like, so now dinosaurs just live among us.
Yeah.
And we have to deal with that now for all of the rest of the movies going forward. Like, it's a neat idea, but maybe just leave that. That's the end.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need you can explore, like, it's just like such a seismic shift of reality that you're like, so what? Now people are trying to, like, steal gold from Fort Knox, and he's gonna stop that. Who cares?
Right.
But
going back to a
like a more grounded thing. But I think that is what they should do.
And there is a way. I mean,
There is, of course.
like Marvel or whoever, when they go big, they find a way to say, well, this is a more localized story.
Yeah. I think that should be it.
Because
maybe
there's no way out of like this group.
Right.
There's no, maybe there's the little kid he hands an ice cream cone to at the end. And he's,
Right.
he's going to be little Ethan.
I could see him, maybe they keep doing this if Degas and or Paris, since they're the younger, like kind of the newer up and coming stars, I guess. If they started to shift more towards, it's still team based, Ethan's the leader, but he's not doing as much of the stuff just as he gets older. I'll watch him do whatever. He can do it if he wants. I'm just saying it might be interesting to see him start taking the Jim Phelps role.
Well, I was going to say, so the thing I saw, I think it was in the first one, John Voight, who is the old guy, is 58.
Yeah.
So Tom Cruise is like 5 years older than the old guy in that one.
Yeah.
And he looks better than I do.
Yeah.
I mean, to not even say anything of my parents the way you did.
No.
But just me.
That I agree with.
Better than, I mean, he does kind of have the 63 when he's running on the treadmill. He's kind of got that 60-plus-year-old guy body.
Yeah.
We're like, I know, I see them out running sometimes. You're just working against gravity.
Yeah.
You know? I just can't, like, this feels like such a, I know he doesn't want it to end, but just like the craziest ending would be he sacrifices himself for this huge thing. And maybe they didn't feel like, I mean, they talk pretty openly about things that they know didn't work from past movies. And maybe there's a feeling of the entity ultimately doesn't connect with people.
Yeah.
And it's not worthy of the big
killing him.
Yeah, because then it's like, how big can we go to like make this work?
Yeah.
And then you're kind of trying too hard. And then I'm not getting you something, I'm not looking at you in the bar because you're trying too hard.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
You die into the entity. No.
No.
I'll take my PBR outside.
Yeah. I think.
So what do you want, bitch?
Same.
Yeah.
Get back to some clever mask game, some gadgets. Get back to, like I said, he can be in it. I don't.
That's all. Yeah, I would.
He can
I
do
think he'd
fights.
Really
he
appreciate
can,
that. You said that.
He can still do a big stunt. I think it is just he's moving more towards like motor, like vehicle stunt stuff because he's just I mean, you have to admit you're old. You can't be running and diving and all that stuff.
Getting thrown through walls and
So, the other people can do the fight scenes and
get me Tillman in there.
Sure.
Like reach who helped you, you know?
Yeah.
Who does he see? The guy that said you want to do some crazy, whatever and like go do
that.
Go against Russia.
When it seemed like even they were setting up the
his little buddy?
Yeah, the little buddy who helps him. Like,
you mean Kodiak?
Yeah.
That's the name they said in the thing.
Oh, okay.
Just kidding.
Like they're Katie O'Brien.
What the hell's Love Lies Bleeding. That's
what
it is. And The Mandalorian. Yeah.
Yes. But get some of these young people. We just need a new person that's like, I will risk my life for movies.
Yeah. I think it is that, right?
Also, in the airplane scene, he's kind of dressed as Indiana Jones. And I was like, this is what Indiana Jones needs for when they inevitably reboot it. We need a guy that would do this. Like, that's what Indy needs to be.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, even Harrison Ford wasn't doing that to this extent.
No.
I mean, it is a lot of set pieces he's working on. But then that's what the new ones are missing. There's a disconnect when it's all CG.
Yeah. But
get the guy that'll do the stuff.
Get the guy that'll
get what's his face in there. Get Powell in there. Cruise paid for him to have his license or whatever.
Sure.
Get Tarzan in there. He brought him over from Top Gun.
Yeah. But no, I think I'll see any Mission Impossible movie. I don't give a damn.
He's a year younger than me.
Tarzan?
Yeah.
Movie star?
Yeah. I Roblox myself right now.
That's what Tom calls him. Movie star.
God, he is. That's why he gave him so much to do in this movie. I think he does get excited about bringing the people in.
Yeah.
But then it's like, Mikyu's like, Tom, we got 16 main characters. I think
Find a place for them.
Okay, we don't have a place for him, so we'll just say I don't have anything to do.
Fine.
Yeah, I give this about a 7.5.
Yeah. I think 7.5. I don't remember what we gave Dead Reckoning.
Nope.
But
might be the same. Might be a little less.
I like this one more than Dead Reckoning.
Yeah.
For sure.
I just think they just overload on. If you need to tell me stuff at this point, like 3 times is just wait until the thing happens.
Sure.
If you're going to keep telling me and then they get to it and they go, remember, mister, just tell me then.
Yeah.
Or tell me this is what we need to get into this room for. Do not bring it up for the 3rd time. And remember why we're going in there. Because at that point, I think I got it.
Yeah. And as this podcast is evidence of, we don't.
Yeah.
So it didn't work anyway.
No, because we didn't remember really anything.
How they got in the room or why they needed the room. And yeah. Anyway.
Don't tell me this is fake.
It's not. It's real. It's awesome.
He's got goggles on.
Yeah. Well, that was Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. This has been iBuds. Again, I say to you, our first and last episode. No. I love talking movies more than I love talking music.
Yeah, I don't know why we don't do this more often. And if you want us to do this more often, don't leave a thumbs down. Leave a thumbs up. That does the animation on the YouTube now. Tell us what you thought of the movie and what you'd... I don't know. It's late.
Bye.
Bye.